What is up, everyone? What is up? Happy Sunday. Hope everyone had a good turkey day. Hopefully not too many turkey comas out there. What's everyone up to on this Sunday? I got a couple of new things coming into the home lab, so I'm finally getting around to doing the Zero Trust network access I was talking about. So we had the Raspberry Pi 3B Pluses that I had laying around, and I've just been like, I need to do something with these. So that's happening. I'll be using the 3B Pluses of there. What's up, Cooper? So far, when I logged into TwinGate, it said that, you know, 0 of 2 connectors, but I haven't set them up. And it got me wondering, is it just that you're only allowed to have 2 connectors? So I guess we'll find out. The idea was basically that I have these 3 guys over here, okay? 2 of these already have PoE hats. 1 I got another PoE hat for. And the idea was essentially to set these up as the Zero Trust network access devices. The idea being that basically whenever I'm outside of my home network, if I need to access my resources, then I can just, you know, log into that using the TwinGate client. Have you seen a relatively old video of Linus Tech Tips accidentally uninstalling his desktop environment? I haven't watched any of his videos in a while, but if it's the one I think it is, where he went ahead and he started installing software before doing system updates, yeah, I do remember that one. That's a rookie move. Like, I know some people be like, oh, you know, coming into Linux, you're, you know, kind of toxic. No. This is a basic rule. Windows, Mac, Linux, FreeBSD, Haiku. You install the OS, you do the updates, then you install other things. Granted, he did find a bug, but it was still one of those situations like, why did you just install an OS and then just go straight into it? Yeah, even LLMs know this. Yeah, see? When an LLM even knows this crap that's basic, that tells you everything. That's rookie move. Like, this isn't a, like, Linux sucks and this shit. This is a Windows, Mac, and Linux issue. FreeBSD, Haiku, whatever. Because I cannot tell you the number of issues in an enterprise where if we install software without doing Windows updates first, you will break things. That's just common sense. And, you know, I know it's an older video, but it is one of those things that, you know, kind of points back to where I used to say that while I don't have any hate, animosity, or anything towards Linus Tech Tips, I just don't really care for his content. And and I say this as someone that grew up with him, and not actually with him, but grew up watching him. And I did learn quite a few things from his videos with NCIX Tech Tips, and then eventually Linus Tech Tips. But I noticed, like, after I started getting into the professional side of IT and cybersecurity, he kind of just stayed in that, like, consumer-prosumer side and never leveled up his skills. Granted, he was fortunate enough to build a company, but a company of his size, he didn't even learn how you should have the IT infrastructure work properly at a company that size. I'm curious why Pop! OS had a bug that made it try to uninstall the DE in the first place. It wasn't really, from my understanding, a specific bug to Pop! OS. It was a bug that, because remember, Pop! OS, even at the time, was just its own distribution that had a bunch of other things. But then again, they probably didn't discover this because most people know, hey, I installed my operating system, let me do my updates, and then we go on to do the other thing. In fact, it's kind of weird because if I recall, Pop! OS actually and this is common in a lot of other Linux distributions. Windows even does this. Mac even does this. When you set up your computer, it will download all the updates at install time. So that's just kind of weird to me. What's up, Hans? How's it going? So yeah, I got the PoE Shield. This is, I couldn't get the official Raspberry Pi ones to keep it, like, in line. So what I'm thinking I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put this PoE hat. So for those of you unaware what this is, all right? I can actually do a show and tell. So one of these cables here, that's why there's a red and yellow one. One is tied into my PoE switch. This is power over Ethernet. You can use power over Ethernet in regular Ethernet ports and it won't cause any issues because it'll do detection on if there is power going. Now, of course, that's because I'm using, what is it, AF plus? I forget which protocol. So it actually has some auto sensing. But if you're doing passive 48 volt, no, it won't. You may cause some damage there. But be that as it may, most people are using PoE. So Raspberry Pi does not actually include the circuitry out the box to allow for PoE. So a lot of businesses actually do this with they do this with their thankfully I didn't smack myself out of a stream. What's some cybersecurity stuff I could learn at home in my free time? I trust you. There's a lot. The best thing to do is home lab, join the Discord and the Matrix servers. Links are in bio because, dude, there's just so many different ways to go with this. There's firewalls, there's learning VLAN segmentation, micro-segmentation, zero-trust network access, which I'll be going over with, like, TwinGate. There's hosting, you know, servers in, through virtual machines and Dockerizing. There's also a PDF that I pinned, I just remembered. One of the VIP members of the community, I call him a VIP because he's been around since like the beginning. HBX actually found a PDF that's like over 600 pages long with tons of home labbing projects that you can do in your own free time. Often with free Libre and open source software, so it may not even cost you anything. Maybe some extra hardware you'll probably have to buy just to run some of the stuff. But it's a pinned post in the general chat section. You just go to the pinned post, you can find that PDF. It should be there as last I thought. Any thoughts on IT Specialist Simulator? I haven't seen it, I haven't played with it, and to be honest, when it comes to those kind of simulator games, I live it. I haven't really done that. I still need to get back onto gaming and stuff. I just haven't really had much time. I've been trying to get back into my home lab stuff. Where did I put my... Oh, there it is. So I'm going to show you what PoE looks like, or how it works. So we're going to take this little, if you notice, this was my Grafana server back in the day. It's a Pi 3B Plus. This works with pretty much anything. And all this explained, covered in the Discord. In that guide, yes, but if you run into issues, of course, you can chat in the Discord, and we'll be more than glad to give you pointers and advice and guide you in the right direction. That's what the whole community is about. We grow together, we learn together. Do you have a GitHub Copilot certificate? If yes, I was exam. I didn't even know they had certificates. I've just been using it. I honestly don't have any certifications except CISSP. That's my only certificate that I have. I think the problem with a lot of certificates out there, I'm not shunning anyone that gets them, I think there's too many out there, and the problem is a lot of them don't really do much in the way for you when you go to get a job. There are a few that maybe, you know, HR will be looking for, but overall they don't really help too much. I really think the problem we have in a lot of the industry is people putting too much emphasis on random pieces of paper. As an average Joe, I can tell you nobody attacks your home. No need high-end security. We're mostly not that important target. Wrong! Oh boy, I can actually show you this. Now remember, I'm just some nobody, alright? Nobody, you know, really cares, right? Alright, I'm gonna pull this up. This is why we built the, home dashboard. This is a huge fallacy that people need to stop actually, saying. The reality is, most attacks are actually automated. So, if I can get this... Yeah, here we are. These are just the inbound attacks. These are just my basic firewall. Just what's actually hitting my firewall right there. Just from a basic whitelist, blacklist standpoint. And then let's go to the intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system. This is what I'm actually seeing in my entire network on the intrusion detection and prevention system. We got a compromised device that was just randomly attacking. We've got a bunch of low reputation IPs hitting me. Yeah. Oh, home attacks. I got the other thing for that. But yes. The reality is people don't... the biggest misconception people have is that I'm not that important. No. The reality is they're actually looking at the lowest hanging fruit. They're looking at who is just the easiest one to pick off. That's why, actually, there's been so many different attacks on home routers and botnetting and IoT devices that have been turned into botnets. What, you think that they're going after CEOs only for stealing their identity and everything? There's a reason why grandma's identity kept getting stolen. It's because it's the easiest one. Hate to say it that way, but it's true. Okay, so this is the Raspberry Pi over here. So we shall do a demo of PoE. So as you can see, this is a Raspberry Pi. There's no power going into it. Okay, you plug in regular Ethernet. Nothing happens. No lights, no blinky, nothing. Then we take this little guy here. Because the Raspberry Pi actually doesn't have the PoE circuitry built in. Oh, really? Gonna have to take the heatsink off. I really don't want to do it on that one. Do I have another one? Nope, that's got a heatsink too. Oh, well, this one's got the PoE hat already installed, but the same concept is here. You plug in the switch, light goes blinky, so it's on. There's a fan spinning. And now it's on and alive, getting network traffic. That's power over Ethernet. But yeah, that is essentially what we're doing with these guys. So I'm eventually going to be taking one of the Raspberry Pi 4s. So I need to do some musical Dockers. So what I want to do is I want to keep the Raspberry Pi shields all together. Because the Raspberry Pi shields, they have the fan go above. Which is one of the things that I liked. And I'm going to take probably one of these Raspberry Pi 4s over here. And I have the 4GB one running my Unify controller. I'm going to move the Dockers to the N8N automation box. So this should be interesting. And I just realized I want to get another PoE hat for various reasons. But yeah, there's lots of tinkerings happening. We're going to be getting into Zero Trust Network Access. I have some YouTube videos coming out as well this week. That should be fun. What do you think is better long-term and money-wise, AI development or data engineering? Data engineering, even though AI definitely is going to be around for quite a while, don't get me wrong. The reality is that AI is kind of overhyped, at least right now. What I mean by that is, sorry, I was grabbing another PoE hat, one that actually had the fan above. AI is really overhyped. I actually have a video. I have two videos I'm actually going to be talking about in AI in a couple of different ways. Because the problem is that, well, this model as they currently have for AI systems is... it's not long-term effective. Now, I do think that AI, in terms of running it locally, is going to be good, but I think data engineering, like, when it comes to AI, there's not all that much that goes into it that you can't really translate from data engineering and stuff. You can always do it on the side. Like, I've been doing it on the cybersecurity. Yitz has been doing it on the full-stack development side. Neither of us actually have our specialty in AI, but we became extremely knowledgeable about AI where we do work. The reality is AI, I think, right now, as it currently stands with the bubble right now, it's not going to be around for a few more years. I just set that up to be returned. I wanted it to work with the heatsink, and that's going to sit just a little too low. I forgot that's the reason why I went with the official Pi ones at the time. Besides that they were official, they just had some issues. Pick one of them as a module at uni. Yeah, no problem. You can learn a lot of AI stuff on your own, and here's the reality that you're gonna learn. There's nothing that you can't change your learning in down the road. I never went to school for cybersecurity. I'm actually going back for my bachelor's in cybersecurity after having done cybersecurity for over a decade. I'm literally going back to get the stupid piece of paper that HR wants to see for a lot of these things. Even though I'm literally going to go back, probably knock it out in a few months, and yeah. You can tell I'm kind of sore about that. But yeah, AI is definitely overhyped. There's also a circular money issue going on we got deep into, and I'll talk a little bit more in other content, because I have some videos coming out about that on YouTube. The circular money issue being that NVIDIA has been skyrocketing in valuations because everyone's buying their GPUs for all of their AI development, as we know. Well, here's the issue with that. NVIDIA has been investing in a lot of AI companies with the condition that they buy their NVIDIA GPUs even at a discount, which then gets to show NVIDIA as having money coming in on the books from these revenues. They then get to show money raising in the portfolio because the valuations of the companies they're investing in go up. So it's money coming in and going. It's actually really reminiscent to me of a lot of the .com boom that we had and Enron. OpenAI is not really... I don't really see how OpenAI is ever going to be a profitable company. They were set up to burn money. They have no other products to give them alternative sources of revenue. They've literally said that they're gonna have to spend $1 trillion with a T dollars to get the general AI, potentially. And that's a big Hail Mary lofty goal that we don't know if they're actually going to hit. That's why you're noticing Microsoft is throwing ChatGPT into everything. They need to. They have to make GPT profitable in order to justify all the spend that they've done. So how do you get to how do you get more how do you get them to show that more people are using AI and all these different products? Simple. Put AI in more products that they really can't avoid using at any time. Now we're hearing that Windows is going to be having an agentic AI in the operating system itself, so the LLM could potentially be doing tasks on the operating system itself, which I find a rather dangerous proposition. So, yeah, and again, I'm not a hater of AI per se. I like AI. I use LLMs all the time. You've seen me use them all the time. I'm making my own LLM servers to run my things locally. I just don't see the value long term in these companies doing AI development. The reason being for that, is just like I said, I don't see how they're going to sustain their cash spend. Yeah, I had a pretty good Thanksgiving. What's up, Linux Gamer? I do see there is a bright future for running LLMs locally. I think what we're going to start seeing where LLMs are actually going to be is more in the on-prem space. They're going to be applied. Right now, it's very reminiscent to the whole blockchain kerfuffle. Oh, we're just going to, put every blockchain into everything, even though it doesn't make sense. The same thing happened with .com, but the .com boom, that actually did have use cases, but there were a lot of products that just were too ahead of the time. Like there was a bank I was reading about, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I think I mentioned it in the content that I am going to be recording soon, about how I think that AI is a bubble that's going to burst. They were just too ahead of the time for, like, they were the first online only bank, and they no longer exist. They were too ahead of the time. Let's remember early days of the internet, for example. You literally had to still call in and use your credit card. There was no credit card system over the internet. I'm here. Do you want to just insert my joke? God damn it. When it comes to AI in general, as someone who comes from a community affected by AI genocides, the economic effects are never spoken about enough. Oh yeah, that too. I actually have spoken about them. Don't get me wrong. And I've talked about also prior what blew my freaking mind and still does not cease to blow my mind is AI is, I would say, this might be an exaggeration, but I'm going to put a round number around it, 100 times worse than they ever said cryptocurrency. No, I knew what you meant. Environmental effects. I caught what you were saying. Sorry, where is it saying? It blows my mind that the whole AI data center, the things we're popping up are at least 100 times, and that's not hyperbole, worse than the environmental effects that they had with cryptocurrency. And everyone, I saw way more people up in arms about cryptocurrency and how, like, oh, it's gonna be a waste of energy and all these different things. And to the credit of a lot of cryptocurrency data centers, now let me make this very clear, I'm not anti-cryptocurrency either. I think crypto bros ruined that, just in the same way that AI bros ruined AI. Be that as it may, I did notice there was a lot more people that were doing cryptocurrency mining that were doing it with environmentally renewable energy resources. That were more environmentally friendly renewable resources. Sorry, words. I did notice there was quite a few cryptocurrency mining centers that were using wind, geothermal, water. Were there people using conventional? Of course. But as bad as, you know, cryptocurrency may have been, AI is definitely actually what is far worse, and people are, you know, so quiet about it in comparison. Yeah, you do hear people complain about the environmental effects, but no one is really talking about in the same level, oh, AI is actually the reason why we're having our energy prices skyrocket. If you've actually looked at your electric bill recently and wondered why your electric bill is going up. Like, I actually looked at my electric bill. I've done a bunch of things to reduce the amount of energy I was using in my house, but my electric bill is still higher than last year. I don't use high energy devices. I try to make everything as energy efficient as possible. LLM are not even a reasoning AI, and I don't understand the all-in on a probabilistic transformer. Yeah, I agree with you, Draco, on that. Look, Draco, you know by now with me, I just use AI because that's the colloquial term that everyone knows it as. I've been very honest in my content whenever I can say about it that LLM is not an AI. It is LLM. What was the statement that I had in a script that I have coming up? Elon moved to XAI to Memphis because of our cheap energy. Price is going to skyrocket so much because of it. Absolutely. What is AI then? I'm getting to that. But AI is... We don't have AI. We have a large language model. Everyone keeps calling it that because that's the buzzwordy thing to say. 1 second. I had the perfect blurb for this. God damn it. I was rewriting this whole script here. AI bubble. Talking about that. Wait, no. Was it in the vibe coding script when I was... Yeah, I think it was in the vibe coding script when I was talking about vibe coding and how it can, you know, there's issues around that too. Hold on, where was it? Okay, LLMs are incredible tools, but they are not senior engineers. They're not mid-level engineers. At best, they are an overconfident junior developer with perfect grammar. Basically, autocomplete that thinks it's a CTO. They hallucinate APIs, misuse libraries, generate insecure logic, and confidently tell you it's correct. And because it looks nicely formatted, people assume it to be correct. It isn't. Where's most of your electricity come from? Look, unfortunately, I'm still in coal country. I've been, we're trying to change things around that, but I'm just one little guy. And no, I can't put solar panels on my house. I've looked into it. Not that I can't physically do it. There's other issues around it. Also in the USA, it's really ridiculous how expensive we make it to install renewable energy like solar panels on houses compared to Europe. It's tens of thousands of dollars to install solar panels, even if you do it yourself sometimes, versus a few $1,000s. In Europe, they actually subsidize that. You don't want to take out a 15-year solar loan? I don't even want to be in this house in 15 years. I bought a solar panel for my portable power station recently. Yeah, I have solar for a few, out and about devices and everything like that. Do not get me wrong. And for some reason, my Stream Elements alerts were not on. I think somebody slid into the Twitch follows. Thank you for the follow, Trelly Moss. Not trying to be a prick. I just genuinely did not see you there until I looked over and I'm like, wait a minute, those notifications were off. And then I looked over and I was like, wait a minute, my bot went off. Okay. My Fairphone 3 broke. Oof. Oof. In Tennessee, where XAI is, 40% is nuclear, but they're running 120 nat gas gen. That 120 is combined between their two sites in the area. But yeah, it blows my mind, absolutely, how people are relatively quiet compared to cryptocurrency in terms of the actual effects that it's having environmentally as well as economically. Well, they're speaking about it economically because they're like, look at all these jobs we're making, not realizing, look at the jobs we're displacing. Like what? How many people can be hired by a data center? I think, what is it? They say, okay, you talk about a few thousand people hired to operate to build a data center. But you only need a few hundred to operate a data center. Yeah, making one new job to remove 3 more. Yeah, and this is in a totally different class than, say, like the ATM, automated teller machines. We all use ATMs, but they have not completely displaced tellers. In fact, if anything, it's made their job easier because now we have access to cash whenever we need on a 24/7 basis, but we still go to tellers. There was a big concern, apparently, back in the day around ATMs were going to displace tellers. The rocking OS, what do you think of Fedora, Omarchin, and Endeavor OS? I'm still rocking Pop OS. I'm still on 2204. They're releasing 2404, I think in a couple of weeks now, because they finally got Cosmic Desktop. But I'm going to be waiting until April, May, when they release Pop OS 2604 to fully upgrade. I'll do a complete wipe of my OS and start fresh that way. Ford is also building a battery factory in the area. They wouldn't agree to hire people in the area. Oof. Fix or repair daily. AI requires reasoning and automation, which we currently cannot do with current models or hardware. Yeah. Well, and I'm going to be talking about this in my upcoming YouTube video, which I haven't recorded yet. I do have 3 videos recorded. One will be out tomorrow. I got to make the thumbnail for the other 2. Those should hopefully be out this week. Those are talking about my home lab projects that I've been doing, making bots and things like that. And talking about typo squatting and the automation tool I built around that, Typo Sniper. But I'm going to be making a couple of videos that I just wrote the script for, talking about AI, both in terms of what we're talking about, it's a bubble, and as well as in the aspect of vibe coding. Now, spoiler, I'm not necessarily against vibe coding, as long as you're doing what I have coined vibe checking. And the problem that we have is people are blindly trusting these LLMs. And as I tell people, because I've heard this, statement many times, well, anyone can be a developer with an LLM, and my response has always been, prove it. An LLM is merely an extension of your knowledge, for good or bad. The old saying is true, garbage in, garbage out. But at the end of the day, if you tell an LLM to build something and you don't know about a lot of these concepts, it's not going to do things right. You're not going to know how to catch the areas. You're not going to see it structure code sanely. I've seen it literally make a monolithic file for Python, 3,000 lines long. And I'm like, whoa, buddy, we got to modularize this. I've seen it use outdated or non-existent libraries. I've seen it do it in synchronous ways when asynchronous fashion could be there to optimize it. It's not going to know about optimization. I've seen it not, recommend DAST or SAST scanning so that you can do security checks on the software. I've seen it, not understand, how your environment has to be terraformed. There's a lot of different problems with it. Yeah, but AI is going to streamline the arts. What's the most soulless art I've seen? Well, the problem is AI is not capable. Again, LLM is not an AI. Is not capable of generating original thought. It is taking all the information that it has been fed and regurgitating it. So the art styles, the coding, the, wording, all of this is based on the information that it has been fed. Garbage in, garbage out, for better or worse. Speaking of Linux, I made my first underestimation when trying to manually install a graphics driver. My Minecraft was crashing due to outdated drivers, and there wasn't an update option in my driver manager. Oof. So, here's the thing. If it's an AMD GPU, you just need to update the Linux kernel. The kernels are actually built into it. If it's NVIDIA, with Pop! OS, you should just be able to do apt install NVIDIA dash whatever version it is. Now, if it's an older GPU, that can be an issue because after a certain point, they do remove the older drivers in there. And you'll probably have to switch to something like Nouveau or something like that. Intel, I think Intel's also built into the kernel. So it's a case of you should just be able to update the kernel. Got it down. It just took like an hour and a half to get it downloaded. Okay. We need white open box models before we can even talk about useful neural net modeling. Fair enough. Question, why choosing TikTok or are you streaming on multiple platforms? I'm on multiple platforms, buddy. Pick a platform, I'm probably streaming right there. I come in purple, I come in red, and I come in green variety. If you know the color of the platforms, you'll know where to go. I merge all the chats here. And also, why am I still streaming to TikTok? Because unfortunately, it's my largest platform. That's how most of the other people know, hey, I'm streaming. So, that's where almost all of my audiences come from. Very few people have found me on other platforms. Basically, people find me either through TikTok, they find me through Blue Sky or Mastodon, and very rarely do they find me through YouTube. So I try to cater to all of my community. Here's this AI then. Well, depending on which hub you're on, I mean... So, Chief, do you know anyone self-host cross-chain exchange? Cross-chain exchange. Do you mean like atomic swaps? We're talking about like atomic swaps where you can actually we're talking about cryptocurrency, right? I think are we going back to the atomic swap discussion that I had in general chat with someone that was trying to buy Monero? That one? Or this totally different tangent? Well, then it just goes back to Linux and air-gapped settings and how to build with real tangible things. Yeah, pretty much. I want to build a gaming PC right now for gaming and virtual machines for cybersecurity. Recommendations 1 to 2K. Oh, you want to build a computer for only 1 to 2K right now? I hate to be the bearer of bad news right now. Go look at RAM prices. Go look at RAM prices. The 32 gigabyte RAM kit that I bought like a month ago for my 2 different boxes for my LLM and TTS server I'm building are apparently now going for like 3 times the price. It is a really bad time to be wanting to build a computer right now. So the question is, right now, ask yourself, is it a want or a need? Because while GPU prices are stabilizing right now, and, excuse me, starting to get in a better place, because NVIDIA also is now not requiring that they package the memory with the GPU. They're allowing the board partners to actually find memory and install it themselves, the way it used to be. But that also means, you know, they're still at the mercy of the entire market. The problem is, going back to the OpenAI and LLM discussions we had and all that, is OpenAI has apparently made a commitment with SK Hynix and Samsung to basically buy the next, the 40% of all memory for like the next 5 years. See you later, Draco. Happy hacking, bud. No computer for 4 years. So yeah, the reality I would ask you is, if you're wanting to build a computer right now, is it a want or a need? Is it worth it to get used PCs? It's always worth it to get used PCs. I get used PCs right now, the new. That is a debatable discussion, because it really depends on what you're trying to do. But the honest truth is, I would actually say, there's not much more a new computer can do than an old computer in many cases for the average person to do things. Now you're going to have those people like, well, the new computer can't do 4K enough. Well, 4K, let's be honest here, is a luxury thing. There's a majority of gamers that are still not on 4K. A lot of us are still doing 1080p or 1440p. And a lot of the older computers can still do fine. My 5950X is doing pretty fine, and I maybe only want to upgrade my GPU from a 3070 to a 5070 Ti. That box has been holding well for a few years now. So, that is a discussion you're going to have with yourself, but I think there is good value as long as you can find a reasonably used computer. Now, if you do get a used computer, not only should you do memtest 86+, to check the memory stability on there, you should probably repaste the thermal paste. At the last gen multi-socket boards is a downgrade for sure, but they're very capable VMs. Yes! I'm still rocking DDR4 for all of my stuff. My new machines are DDR4 as well. But yeah, if you want to get an old machine, or build with DDR4, you might get better luck there, but all the higher end new memory is going to be a problem. I generally could care less about a game if it can run at 4K. Me too. I still game at 1080p and I'm perfectly fine. What's ECC in regards to memory? Error correction code. The average person doesn't need to worry about this. Essentially what it is, it's an extra bit installed in the physical memory for parity. So basically, if you get like 2 or 3 flipped bits, which they can happen, you can crash an entire system. Computers are very, very sensitive to flip bits. ECC basically has the ability to flip that bit back. There's only one machine that I have in this entire house that's using ECC memory, and I intentionally built it that way, and that's my firewall. That's got an Intel Atom Server Edition with 16 gigabytes total of DDR4 ECC memory. And 16 gigabytes in a firewall is frickin' overkill. Even at an enterprise level. Like the new firewall that I'm building with the Xeon D CPU to replace that is still planning to have 16 gigabytes of ECC DDR4. But yeah, I would look at old machines or at least build with last gen systems. Like Micro Center has the AMD Ryzen 5500 CPUs going for about $70. You can probably get DDR4 RAM inexpensively, although that's pending change. But yeah. Have I seen the LTT Linus Torvalds video? No, I don't really watch LTT videos. I haven't really seen him much in my feed in years. I just checked the 64 gigabyte RAM kit I bought in July for $235. It's now $670. G-Skill Trident Z5 RGB. Yup. You into Web 3? Ew. Ew.
Ugh. Brother, ugh.
Web3 has been some of the most overhyped BS. Don't get me wrong. Not anti-cryptocurrency. Just a lot of the Web3 stuff was absolute BS. They overhyped it, they oversold it, and you had a bunch of these crypto bros who are like, Web3 is going to revolutionize the internet. No, it hasn't. LTT made a PC with Linus Torvalds. Meh. I'd probably watch it for Linus Torvalds if there's a way we could censor Linus Tech Tips out. Is there a way we could just edit all of Linus Tech Tips out? Or, you know, what is it? His last name? Sebastian, I think it is. Just edit him out and give me Torvalds. The better Linus. Cowrie or teapot for my first honeypot research project. I haven't honestly played with either of those, because last I did honeypots, I was using things like tripwire and stuff like that. I may have to play with those myself. At work, I know I've been playing with Zscaler Deception, and it's really freaking awesome, because it does a whole honey net. Honestly, bro, just trying to find a decent pre-build. Pretty much. Yes, crypto. I didn't see that earlier. Oh, you're talking about the atomic swap thing? Let me see if I can... Wait, that's on my local network. That'll expose... So atomic swaps, the way that I do it is I have a node, my Monero node running Pinode XMR actually has the optional tool for doing atomic swaps. I own a Web3 URL that only points at my wallet address. I do too, but the problem is you have to have a browser that is Web3 enabled. Zscaler. Zscaler is one of the biggest ZTNA solutions out there. Big enterprise product. I really wish they had a home lab product. I actually do like their stuff. So this is Zscaler. When it loads. This is Zscaler over here. They do a lot of different projects. So, like ZIA for actually inspecting the traffic, and you can do DLP capabilities. ZPA for the Zero Trust Network Access. They've got the firewall. They've got a cloud sandbox. So when you actually go to download things, it will actually sandbox the download, inspect it, then go send it to the user. And the user doesn't really notice a difference except a very small lag. But it only really happens on the first download. After that, as long as the hash matches a prior check, it'll just let it on through. It's got a lot of different capabilities. Now, the one thing they don't really show too much... here we are. Deception. So deception works really, really interestingly because it's not just a honeypot, honey net system. It actually will deploy all the sensitive device assets and everything, so you can have it like pretend that it's like an F5 appliance or Apache or OpenVPN. You just give it a bunch of different names, have it point to that. But when they're attacking it actively, it'll feed data back into your systems. So you can have a tie into Okta. So if it actually does end up using legitimate credentials on these vulnerable systems, it can then force Okta to do a reset on the affected user so that they have to then set their credentials up. That's just one example. It's got capabilities to tie into CrowdStrike and a bunch of other things. It's a really interesting product. So, it is an enterprise product. I will say Zscaler is not cheap, but I will say a lot of companies are starting to use Zscaler. They're one of the market leaders when it comes to this. So you can actually get like this entire dashboard here, which actually will tell you like all the different, attacks coming in. So you can actually give a scoring, like they're doing these kind of attacks and things like that. It's a really nice piece of software. Originally, it was from a company, I think it was called Illusion Black. Zscaler had acquired them. Zscaler's just been acquiring a bunch of different companies and integrating them. They're doing a lot of interesting things. Of course, the big thing about it is east-west secure traffic, which I'm actually building a similar system in here I'm planning to use TwinGate for that. They also have this, which is like Zscaler SIM. So you can actually have a secure cell network for IoT and OT. Was this their system for that? No, that's just the regular IoT, OTs. They have a lot of different products out there. But yeah, it allows you to do microsegmentation and a bunch of things. You can even do data fabric, which allows you to tie in all of your resources together. So you can actually have a better ability to respond to different information. It's a little bit different than a SIM. So like you're doing asset management exposures or things like that. Yeah. I wonder if an EDU account gets an affordable discount. No, I actually tried hitting them up myself to get them in my home lab. The quote they gave me was you need a minimum of 50 seats. 50, 5-0, and 10K a year. If I had the money, I would. If and when Renegade Penguin grows to actually be a proper enterprise, you bet your ass I will have Zscaler in there. But right now, no. But it is really good software, don't get me wrong. Do I have my complaints with it? Yes, I have complaints with every single enterprise software out there, but that's just the nature of the beast. Out of Reg, if you're trying to... The closest thing that I can find to that, aside from the honeypot side of things, because it looks like you're doing stuff with that, is... There's this company, which I'm planning on putting into my home lab. TwinGate. So this is Zero Trust Network Access. So basically, I can deploy a couple of nodes in my home network, have the agent, and that's how I can connect in without a VPN. It does it selectively, and I can micro-segment the traffic out. So let's say I had different people in there, I could allow them access to certain devices or subnets. I'll have more on that later once I get it all rolled out. I still gotta put together my nodes with those Raspberry Pi 3B pluses. Can you have your chat as employees? No, I wish. You'd all have to be tied into my identity provider account, and I do not want to give that many seats out.
Kick ass. I can save money now and everyone can eat. Getting money in the daytime, even count it when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD.
Thank you for that sub there. Thank you. And I just realized I had my receipt printer unplugged. God damn it. I was cleaning the computer. I'm not cleaning, but I had to fix a problem. So the receipt printer's now on. Hey! Thank God it at least cues it until the printer's back on. 16 months? Don't insert the wooden spoon into that hole. So your mods would count as employees then? Potentially. Potentially. I will be honest and say that It's Just Dev is probably going to be the first person that actually gets in the infrastructure with the ways things are going. Not for the zero trust side of it, but I have to send videos to him here and there so that he can actually do edits for TikTok and YouTube Shorts. There are certain jobs I'd still rather have a human do than AI. Okay? Because trust me, I've played with AI tools that tried to pull the clips out and they suck! At least for my stuff. Do you know about John Von Neumann? Why does that name sound familiar? Have you heard of Devil's Pie? Also sounds familiar. How do you view the Unix philosophy? Do one thing and do it extremely well? Yeah, I like the Unix philosophy, but there are some times when you have to, bend or break that rule, like Systemd actually. Yes, there were complaints about it, but I actually have grown to actually understand and like the approach they did because it's actually unified a lot of logs and systems in there a little bit more. Capstone, trying to capture as much data as possible using honeypots and trying to identify the actor based on known research. BTW, I love Twin Gate, they're dope. Yeah. So I take it, excuse me, you're taking your honeypot information and you're trying to feed it into a sim, correct? If so, I would recommend looking at what I'm doing the approach of. So I currently have PFSense gathering all my data, and it's feeding it to this little logging server here, the Purism Librem Mini that I have running this stuff. It's running the Grafana dashboard that I had up earlier, as well as it's running Logstash and OpenSearch as part of the databases, but it's also using Telegraph to gather the PF Blocker NG logs. So I've got Suricata IDS IPS and PF Blocker NG. My plan is to eventually feed that into Wazza or another sim. Maybe I'll do Greylog. We'll see. And then have EDR feed into that, and then I might expand that a little bit more with honeypots. I don't know how I'm going to deploy that because I want cloud-facing things, so I might look at DigitalOcean, or I may finally spin up an Amazon Web Services account and then terraform things out. Either way, I want to terraform it. Hey! Thank you for the follow, M.I. Godot. Hope that I said that name right. What's up? What's Grafana? Grafana is a very awesome dashboarding system. So whenever I have these pretty dashboards that you see up here, which, by the way, you're on TikTok, so you only get to see, like, this tiny window. This tiny window. Whereas it's much bigger. Grafana is the thing that visualizes all of this. So I'm feeding the data in, and it can visualize it from multiple different sources. So it's right now pulling from InfluxDB and OpenSearch. But you can also feed it Elasticsearch, Prometheus, SQL stuff, I think. You can feed in Datadog, tons of other services and all that. But yeah, so this is the Suricata side of it. Let me see if I can grab another one over here. This is my system dashboard over here. Can I show this? Yes, I can show this. So this is my pfSense system dashboard, just part of it. I'm not showing the full things because that's going to expose some things I don't want to show. But you can see, like, there's a map down here of the attacks going, and I can even go back and say, like, oh, I just want to see the last 5 minutes of data. Or, as I normally have it, the last 24 hours. So I can see the CPU utilization, the RAM utilization, the disk utilization, the temperature, the load. I can feed as much data as I want, and this is all customizable. I even have Unify stuff over here. pfSense sounds so familiar as well. Probably. It's a pretty popular open source firewall. So... Okay, I can't really show as much as I would like. Hold up. I know what I can do. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Hold on. Okay, I think I redacted enough info there. Maybe. Yes, I did. Okay, cool. So this is like the dashboard I have for my Unify access points. So you can see all the data. This is actually pulling from my my Unify controller and then pushing it to that little server over here that I pointed out. So I can actually see all the different types of devices I have. I gotta figure out this right over here. Oh, I didn't put my new version of the dashboard in. I tested it. Okay, I gotta figure that out. No, I did. I didn't put it in that version. Okay. I put it on the switch side. I didn't put it on the access point side. So I have this for all of the access points. So I can see which channels are being utilized, which clients are on each device. So I can get a full, entire high overview. Now, I have to make a lot of these dashboards. Some of them I built by scratch. Some of them were already designed. Okay. Do you have a streaming home server? Not yet. It's not been on my priority list. I've been provisioning more of my devices to my actual systems. I don't really watch TV and all that too much. So I'm kind of basic and just use a, whatchamacallit? Roku. Was it this one? Yeah, okay, so I put it on the client insights, so I have to fix the logic on the UAP insights. I can do a quick check on that. Unify. Oh, come on, I just was working on you. There we are. Unify Grafana dashboards. You're going back to Roku? Going back, I never left. I got Apple TV to watch F1 in 2026. Oh, you gotta do what you gotta do. Would recommend Wire App Messenger because it's end-to-end and based in Switzerland. I use Signal. So the problem is that I have with a lot of the different systems, everyone's like, well, this one's better and that one's better and this one's better, and my argument has been, you can make all the arguments for what's better, but if people aren't there, what use is it? And when I go to DEF CON, everyone's still using Signal, and Signal has representation when you go to DEF CON, by the way. I've ran into a few of them there. They're nice people. What's the purpose of a firewall? A firewall is, well, if you look at the terminology of a firewall, what it literally is inside of a car, and we're going to get to the analogy in a second. We are talking about tech, but you have to understand what a firewall is. So in a car, if it catches on fire, it literally can wall off the fire from the user. Like, so your engine actually is a firewall from you, so you don't feel the heat from the engine and everything. Well, a firewall on a network is essentially doing the same thing. It is walling off a lot of the bad stuff that could happen at that first layer. So it is your first layer of defense in terms of your network security. A hardware firewall, that is, we're talking about. Now, there is firewalls at multiple levels. There's firewalls also on your system, which does the same thing, but at a client level. Whereas a firewall at the network level, like pfSense, does it at the network level. What fruit would Arch Linux be? Arch Linux... What fruit doesn't actually touch grass? Apples would be too much for them. It'd probably be a banana. pfSense drove me nuts, so I went with OpenSense. OpenSense is too limited from when I played with it too many times, so that's why I stuck with pfSense. pfSense has a lot more bells and whistles to it, and configurations. It's also got a lot more of a stable model than OpenSense. I'm not saying OpenSense is bad per se, but there's definitely more businesses out there and enterprises using pfSense than OpenSense. And it'll teach you a lot for how, enterprises and such will actually deal with different things. But I've got a handle on pfSense to this point that I know it pretty well. Like, I basically have been using pfSense for 15 years. I've got my PF Blocker NG dialed in. I've got NUT, Network UPS tools, receiving from my Synology NAS, which is acting as the server, so it's got that over the network. It's using Suricata for the IDS IPS, actually doing blocking. I've got it doing everything I need, and then I now have gotten to the point where I'm actually making custom Python scripts on the actual pfSense box to grab the logs from Suricata to push it to my logging server. Could I do the same thing on OpenSense? Potentially, but I got everything working on my stuff. But you're a wizard. No, I'm just stubborn and have been doing this for 15 years. And I wanted to learn how it works at a very deep fundamental level to get into my path with business. At least business IT. I'm just getting myself into Unify. Unify, I like their switches and access points. I do not care for their gateways, but for the average home user or really small business, their gateways are pretty good. Their security side of it just could be a little more to be desired on the actual gateways. But with that being said, if you are using Unify access points and switches, I highly recommend looking up a project called Unify Polar. It's an open source project that you can actually set up InfluxDB and Prometheus agents to grab from your Unify controller and then push it to InfluxDB or Prometheus for Grafana to make dashboards from it and give you much more insight than the Unify controller even does. The point of Grafana is to give me a visualization and single pane view into my entire network. Whereas I don't have to log into, I need to check out if it's the, switches and access points, so I got to log into Unify. I got to log into the firewall over here. I got to log into this system. I just want a unified view to go look at everything in one single pane of glass. That's what Grafana gives me the ability to do. And I eventually do want to get a Raspberry Pi attached to a monitor so I can actually turn it into a little kiosk to have constant metrics that go on in the basement. So like if I walk downstairs, I can just look at the screen and kind of get like a sock-like view where I'm like, okay, that's the health of my network. Have you seen Lorna's video of him with... Yes, I've already seen the people talking about it. No, I haven't seen the video. I don't really watch Linus Tech Tips. Yes, but you are also a wizard. How different is BSD to Linux? There are quite a few differences, but they're extremely similar because they both come from Unix-like backgrounds. In the same way that Mac OS X does. I know some people are going to be like, wait, what about that comparison? If you go at the terminal, use the terminal, you're going to notice a lot of similarities between Mac OS X, FreeBSD, and Linux. There are also some fundamental differences between BSDs out there. And honestly, if it wasn't for the big lawsuit in the 1990s from them making a 1-800 number for hotline of 1-800-ITS-UNIX, they probably would have been the dominant Unix-like operating system instead of Linux. There's a whole interesting story that went around that. Grafana has a level 10 CVE just recently. Well, I don't have it exposed to the network. I mean, to the public network. It's firewalled on its own VLAN. This is where you need to understand, I'm not trying to put you down, but this is where you need to understand in terms of cybersecurity, the context of exposure. So the problem is, like, we actually have this discussion going on at work. The problem is, traditional vulnerability management scanners like Tenable would go and scan your entire environment and say, hey, you got this vulnerability, and that vulnerability. Patch everything, it's critical. You know, like that. Whereas you have a software like Wiz, a proper CSPM, a cloud security posture management system, goes in and says, hey, yeah, you have these vulnerabilities, you have these secrets that are available, you know, all that. Yes, you should fix these. But given the context of it's isolated and it's not even exposed to the public internet, your attack, your worries about being attacked are very, very low. And the honest truth is, I will tell people when people are like, well, you know, it's got this CVE. Look, name me a piece of software that hasn't had a single CVE, and I will show you a software that is very new to the world. The big starting difference with BSD and Linux is that you have to retain commercial. I wasn't getting into that. We're talking about just, hey, if you're going to use the operating systems, what's the big difference? There's always going to be one person that literally just goes, well, you know, actually. I should really get a Bye Felicia sound. Your thoughts on IT special? Why do people keep coming with me about this thing? Okay, I'm not trying to put you down at all, but I want to put this in perspective. If I'm literally using computers all day and dealing with IT every single day, why would I want to go home and play a video game that has me do the same thing as my job? Just so I can yell about the game. Like, there's a reason why I would rather do Power Washing Simulator, because I don't do power washing every day. I'm in the Navy training to prepare. I gotcha. Need some advice, Chief. Whenever I use my Molvad VPN, my speed keeps dropping like a big drop in the ad. Yeah, it's because you're using a VPN. A VPN is always going to add an extra step in terms of your network. So when you're actually using your internet, you're going from you to your ISP to whatever path it needs to take to get to that destination. You're now taking you, your ISP, with encapsulating all that data, to the VPN, and then to routing everything there. VPNs will always add additional latency. You can do things to improve that by placing the VPN closer to you and stuff like that, but ultimately there's nothing you can do about that. I keep getting captured when using VPN. That's because most websites are doing deep packet inspection or looking at the IP that you're coming from to see if it's associated with VPNs or data centers, and they want to see that you're a human. They're using a popular VPN. They're using you're on IPs that are shared with everyone else. Can't you run a home lab VPN to reduce latency? Then you would just be having your internet come from your home lab. Now, don't get me wrong. Hosting your own VPN does have many benefits, but you don't VPN to your own home network or that to do the thing. And at the end of the day, it's still going to add latency. So there's nothing you're really going to be able to do to prevent extra latency, because the very basic idea is it's going to add an extra step. No ifs, no ands, no buts. That's just something you're going to have to accept when using a VPN. Well, you're the product when something is free. Why is Proton a viable choice? Because Proton actually has... they've open sourced quite a few of their products. They've been audited. There's a big difference by the company that actually owns them. They don't have the history of using you as the product in terms of others. I mean, let's remember, if I recall... Let me make sure this is right before I actually make that statement. Hold on. Yeah, Proton is a nonprofit. Proton has been transitioning towards a nonprofit structure. So that's pretty different. Whereas to compared companies like Cape Technologies that happen to own private internet access, what's the other one they own? ExpressVPN. Is it CyberGhost? Cape Technologies, their history is really shady. If I recall, they were big into malware or advertising or malvertising. I forget. It's been a while since I looked into that. And that's why a lot of people dropped support for private internet access, because Cape Technology owned them, and now we can't trust the parent company. Is switching to fiber internet would help? It would help, but ultimately, if you look at your connection with or without a VPN when on when on fiber, it's still going to have an extra hop. This is a matter of physics. You can't make something faster if you have an extra stop to it. Physically, it's still going to have to go somewhere else and then route out. That's just how it is. Hold on. So if I want to play Counter-Strike on VPN, I should do split tunneling? I mean, you can. There's nothing technically wrong with split tunneling. A lot of enterprises actually do that, so that way you'll actually, they won't want to route all of the traffic for a business through their tunnel and use their bandwidth. So what they'll do is they'll create the VPN profile to split all the traffic but the business stuff to go, so that all the other traffic goes on the regular pipe, and then all the business traffic goes down the path to the business so that they have an encrypted tunnel to those resources. Do storage drives decay, degrade? Yes. Doesn't matter what you use, SSD, hard drive, or spinning disk, anything. They all degrade over time. That's just, unfortunately, the nature of the beast. Good job. Latency doesn't matter for tuning them. Ah.
Brother,
Just want to say, starting my first IT job in repair and support in a couple days. The first step is made. Got an interview coming as well for IT help desk. Thanks for the motivation. Hey, that's great shit to hear. That's great. Good luck on that interview. I got a lot of faith in you that you're going to do well. And I think you're going to do amazing. I know this job market really sucks right now. So I'm very happy and very proud that you managed to, you know, get this far at least. And the hardest part of getting into IT or cybersecurity or, you know, any part of this entire mess of field of career that we choose is getting that first step in. So I wish you much luck on this endeavor and keep me posted on this. I'm happy for you, bud. Oh man, don't give up. I applied for 75 jobs. Oh yeah, I've been applying like crazy too. It's crazy. What did somebody just clip? Hold on, did you really just clip that? Okay, hold on. My audio is on the wrong source. Oh, what was this? Okay. You talked about the, you clipped the Unify Polar segment there. I had to switch my audio resources. I applied to 300 jobs when I graduated from college in 2021. No, you're totally fine. I was just, like, curious. I like to see what people are clipping of me. No. Am I gonna, like, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. I was just curious what you clipped. Because sometimes there's funny shit. I want to see the funny shit, too. I like it when my community's involved in clipping things. You're totally fine. I was just like, how delayed is this? I think Twitch has a delay of, like, a few seconds. 5 to 10 seconds. Something like that. Now, I was just curious. Because people don't clip me too much, and I'm just curious what happens. Look, if I didn't want you to clip me, I wouldn't be on Twitch. I applied to the company I currently work at like 2 or 3 times. Yeah. The other thing that helps is going out and networking and meeting a lot of people. Because the unfortunate reality is... it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's the most important thing. To case in point, the couple of jobs that I've gone through so far, I've had to know people in order to get to where I'm at. So keep that in mind. Like I always tell people, apply to all the jobs, but also go out there networking, go to meet a lot of people. I use a website. I have shared this before many times. I will share it again for those of you that have not seen my streams before. Give me a sec. Get into the Cloudflare thing. All right. This is called InfoSec Map. InfoSecMap.com. From here, you can find a map of all the different events going on local to you. All right? So you can find, like, okay, you're in Europe, you can find events over there too. You're in the Middle East, you can find events there. India, Europe, Asia. You can find events pretty much anywhere you need to go. Boston? Probably. Yeah, here you go. You've got the 2600 Boston monthly meeting. You got a 2600 club out there. You've got the Global Fraud Conference of 2026 for fraud prevention. God, they need to change that name. The Global Fraud Conference makes it sound like, hey, we're here to talk about fraud and how to do it, rather than just prevent it. What 2600 Club is? The 2600 Club is one of the oldest hacker groups. They're from the 2600 magazine. This is the magazine that I get quarterly, all right? And I got to renew my issues and all that. Basically, this is from back in the days. The reason why it's called 2600 is it refers to 2600 hertz, which was the tone that you would use to do phone phreaking, which was how we used to hack analog phones. So I remember my dad used to be like, hey, we're going to go call our family in Morocco. And basically, they used to do this with a Captain Crunch whistle and a tape recorder. I shit you not. And there was also blue box phones and stuff like that. Of course, a lot of this stuff doesn't work anymore, but it's still a very popular thing. You can get this magazine. It's quarterly. It's still worth getting because there's like all sorts of exploits and stuff that are talked about. So you have like who authors unauthorized access. This is the article from that. Yeah, it's a great magazine. It comes out quarterly. You've got people like doing, you know, so you got different articles coming out. And this is quarterly. I didn't do phone phreaking. My dad did. Hey, thank you for the follow, CyberOps. Funny that it's CyberOps 401 unauthorized while we were just talking about who authorized the unauthorized. But yeah, this is totally definitely worth... Ooh, look, they got a haiku in here. 9 censored haiku. Google tracks your moves, can stop or change things anytime. Follow the rules, please. For Facebook. Your data is theirs, they can change or block you fast. Break the rules. You're out. Apple. They own what you buy, control what apps you can use. Rules can change anytime. Amazon's got, they track what you buy, change prices or stop items. You are not in control. Microsoft. They own your software, track what you do on their apps. Rules can shift at will. X. They watch what you tweet, can ban you or change the rules. Nothing stays the same. They even got the World Economic Forum in here. Elites plan to change, global power in their hands. Whose voice will they hear? The Council on Foreign Relations. There's a couple in here that interesting. Global leaders meet. Silent influence they wield. Plans behind closed doors. And then just the final one was on global banking. Money moves in chains. Power hides behind the walls. Wealth for just a few. The payphones from around the world are really cool too. Yeah, they are. Way back when, I think I submitted one. I don't know if they actually posted it or anything. I don't know what we are doing a Christmas story this early. Not related, but getting married as well. Hey! Mazel tov on that. Mazel tov, getting married. It's always an amazing thing when you find that one person that wants to put up with you for the rest of your life. And if they don't, well, I hope they don't smother you with a pillow in their sleep. I'm joking. I'm joking! I think we need to have a segmented stream where Chief reads us a page from the 2600. We can maybe do that. Although they only come out quarterly, and I gotta renew my issue. Because I think my subscription just ran out. This is volume 42, number 1. This is spring 2025. Oh yeah, I think I'm a little behind. Because I didn't get summer. So I'm probably have to order the summer issue, get the fall and winter issue. I'm thankful my other half tolerates my nerddom. Fair enough. But yeah, InfoSec map, totally worth it if you're looking at events around the world to go visit and go meet other people. Some of the events, of course, may not be completely local to you, so you go travel. Like, I've traveled a few states for my things. I've gone, of course, as far as Vegas for DEF CON and B-sides out there, but I've gone to other events in multiple states, and I hope to increase that list and roster over time. Yeah. So. Alright, let's get into the review on stream stuff. What the hell did Darko just send me? Okay, I definitely can't watch these videos on stream. I'm gonna get banned. They're not raunchy, they're just... We sometimes go on humor that's out of line. At least for the content. Y'all would like it. Are they spicy? They're spicy enough to probably... Well, I don't know if they're that spicy. It's more so that I know his humor, and I'm like... I'm not risking it. You have to remember, the guy got me banned on TikTok Live, like, what, 3 or 4 times now? Just because we're goofing around and, you know, being ourselves. Oh, God, Vampire. What did you just clip? Okay, so, we watch them on Discord. Yeah, I can probably put them on Discord. I'll take a look at them later. Alright, we got quite a few videos. Good God! There's a lot of videos in here. Okay, so I tested a revolutionary new battery. Give me a sec. I got to... pipe wire. Alright, I'm setting the audio sync up. Alright. So I have the good old reset pipe wire script I put together working so that you don't have to do this. I do because I have multiple audio sources. I tell you all this every time just in case there's anyone new coming in. And making sure... Hold on.
Front.
Okay,
right.
Audio's going through. Cool. That's what I needed to know. So, I tested the world's sodium-ion power station. So I've been hearing about sodium-ion batteries. Sodium-ion is supposedly going to be safer than lithium-ion, because lithium-ion is pretty dangerous. But of course, with that being said, my understanding is that they have lower density in terms of power than lithium-ion. So let's see what they have.
Sodium-ion power station. New sodium batteries supposedly perform better in extreme cold, have longer cycle lives, and are much cheaper than lithium batteries. So is this the end of lithium and the beginning of the sodium-ion
I don't think that's a lithium battery he just threw out. That looks like a lead acid.
Say hello to the Bluetti Pioneer NA. It is currently sitting at around 40 degrees, and we'll check the internal temperature in a sec. It looks like an average Bluetti power station from a couple years ago, but what we care about is on the inside and how it stacks up to a lithium iron phosphate power station. All right, will these power stations even turn on? Oh, yes. 28% battery, and that is some crazy condensation on the screen there. In the app, it says the battery is sitting at 37 degrees. What about the sodium ion power station?
Okay.
Ooh, yes. This one's been sitting out a little longer and the condensation is almost entirely gone. Unfortunately, the app does not give me any way to see the battery temperature. I guess it's around the same. So will these near freezing power stations even charge? For the lithium, its minimum charging temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So we are right at the limit of safe charging, and we will try unsafe charging next.
Cold weather performance might sound trivial, but any battery stored outside your heated home, in a shed, garage, even your EV
Yeah,
itself
this is
will
going to
likely
be good
face
for
freezing
cars if
temperatures
this is
at
actually
some
as good
point.
as it says. Or as good as I remember it.
Ooh, I heard something. Yes, it's charging. Okay, is it gonna get up to its 1,000 watt charging speed? 250 or so watts? Okay, so the power station
Damn,
seems to be
1,000 watt
throttling the
charging speed.
because the battery is so cold.
That's a
For
good
the
amount.
sodium ion power station, its minimum charging temperature is just 5 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not bad. Okay, there we go. It's currently set to the standard charging speed, which should get us around 500 watts. Oh, it looks like it's maxing out at 220. Wait, what? That's even slower than the lithium power station.
Looks like you got
What
eco
happens if
mode
I
on there,
turn it
buddy.
up to the turbo charging mode? It says in the manual that that should spike the charging speed up to 1,400 watts. Wow, nothing. That was a little unexpected. They've both been in the fridge for the exact same amount of time, 2 days. Well, I wonder how well they'll each run stuff. So I've got a light that uses around 5 watts and then a space heater that uses 500. The lithium power station's minimum discharge temperature is -4 degrees.
Right.
Ah, no issue. It's not showing any wattage or runtime estimate on the screen here. That's just a quirk of some power stations that have trouble tracking low wattage devices. And the sodium ion power station's minimum discharge temperature is -13 degrees. Easy. This one seems to suffer from that same quirk. Now for something that uses 100
Oh, yeah, 'cause it's
times
pretty
the
low.
power. It is running pretty much at full blast, 440 watts, 0.6 hours remaining. That is no problem. And for the sodium ion power
So
station.
why not fully charge it? I'm curious.
Oh, look at that, way closer to 500 watts. I'm wondering if the lithium iron phosphate power station was throttling its power output just ever so slightly because of how cold the battery is.
But the numbers on the screens can be inaccurate, so all we know for certain is that there was not a single meaningful difference between the lithium and sodium batteries in this test. Let's make them much, much colder.
Yeah, and I think you'd also have to consistently
cold
test
these
them
things
rather
are
than just
now.
let them warm up.
Like 15, 17 degrees.
You'd need like a walk-in freezer though.
Cold. They are straight up frozen.
Especially at the
You're going
EcoFlow
to
power
turn
portable
on.
power station. How do you like them at?
See lights? Oh my God, look at how slow it is. Its battery temperature is 5 degrees right now. What about for the sodium ion? Oh,
Use
wow.
civilized units. It is
Charging a lithium
-15.
iron phosphate battery when it's below freezing is unsafe. You shouldn't do it. It damages the battery. I just want to do it for like 5 seconds to see if it even starts charging or if the power station has some protections in place. Look at all this frost on the
Jesus.
charging port. It's kind of sketching me out. The condensation is already getting pretty gnarly. Okay, here goes nothing.
Hey, Brock.
Is it gonna start charging? Oh, what does that say? There's something flashing on the screen here. Ooh, it's a cold weather icon. Okay, so it knows that the battery's below freezing, so it's not charging. Now for the sodium ion power station, its battery should be around that minimum charge temperature of 5 degrees. Although again, I can't see its actual temperature. I don't know why. It's
Now, the
kind of a dumb
curious thing
decision.
I have
Let's
is
see
that if we
charges.
move the sodium ion, we probably have to change all the charging circuits
I heard something.
and stuff like that.
Yes, we are getting charging. 120 watts for 8.7 hours to a full charge. So that's roughly a quarter of its
Charging of a
standard
solar
charging speed
panel.
of 500
Nice.
watts. I'm gonna again try running a low wattage and high wattage
Currently, my
device.
Meshtastic solar
That
node
cold
is
weather
running well
icon
off
was
of solar.
blinking for a long time, but it just went away actually.
Battery on
Let's
it's
see.
lasting a while, but I have
Easy. Now for the sodium
12,000
ion.
milliampere hours in Moly cells.
Yeah, no problem.
18650,
Now for
so
the space heater.
that thing could last 2 months without sunlight.
Oh, I hear it. It turned on. It's using 420 watts. Now it's over 600. Oh, the power station sounds a little funky. God, this power station sounds a little off. It's throttled the power output down a little bit. All right, that worked, but it sounded a little weirder than normal. And for the sodium ion, okay, started. Oh wow, 800 watts, 630, down to 540, 520. The fan on this unit kicked on right away. I can feel it blowing really cold air. This one sounds normal. The power output dropped by 2% in like 15 seconds. It goes to show you that there is reduced usable capacity that comes with these batteries
it's colder.
getting colder.
So there was just one practical difference that we saw in these tests. Plus, I thought sodium batteries were supposed to work in even much colder temperatures than these.
Yeah, I thought they would be.
We'll talk about that.
But the
Yeah, I thought they'd work in better
batteries
in colder temperatures as well.
go way further than just better cold weather performance. So let's move on to the next one I've been seeing, that they can last much longer than lithium batteries, thousands of cycles more. And while we're doing that, let's put the sodium ion power station through its very first discharge cycle and see how efficient it is compared to the lithium battery. And we'll see how long each one lasts as well. Y'all, this one is wild because lithium iron phosphate batteries have such long lifespans. So if these new sodium ion lifespan claims that I've been seeing of 10,000 cycles were true, then home batteries.
I'm not sure how you would be able to reasonably test that.
And EV battery
Have you considered getting a power station?
Millions
Yes.
of miles. Let's do a quick little check-in. The lithium power station is sitting at 71%, says 3.1 hours remaining, and the sodium ion power station is sitting at 76%.
I've actually looked at like how could I do something better than the UPS that I have for my network.
Of around 4,000 cycles to 80%, meaning after 4,000 cycles, they should still hold roughly 80% of their.
Still 4,000 cycles
So how
is
does the world's
pretty nice.
first sodium ion power station compare? Let's do another quick check-in. So the lithium power station is at 16% with 0.7 hours remaining. The sodium ion power station is at 22% with 0.8 hours remaining. The Pioneer NA's cycle life is 4,000 cycles to 70%.
That is certainly respectable. Still, I was expecting better.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But I will forgive all your shortcomings, Sodium, for the right price. The lithium power station ran for 4 hours and 12 minutes at a 0.2C rate, though I wasn't too concerned with how long they lasted because they have different battery sizes. I got 81.5% usable capacity, which is a little low, but this is an older model that I've had for a while. And the sodium ion power station lasted 4 hours and 41 minutes, and I got 93.1% usable capacity.
Yeah, but it's newer.
Really good. It's actually the best that I think I've ever gotten.
Fair play, Sodium.
And then there's the juiciest claim of all that you've probably seen. Sodium ion batteries are supposed to be incredibly cheap.
Personally like
So how does
EcoFlow
this
branded,
sodium
but
ion
there
power
are
station
plenty
stack
brands
up
that makes
in
them.
that regard?
Yeah.
While we're doing that, let's
I've
go
always
ahead
been
and
looking at
charge
them,
both
but
of
I've
these
also
power
been
stations up at
considering
their
making my
fastest
own
charging
power
rate
bank for the
to see
house.
how long it takes.
But
This
that
one
would
is
take
set
a
to the
lot
ultra-fast
of battery
charging setting,
cells.
1,300 watts coming in, 0.9 hours to a full charge. This one is at the turbo charging setting.
So I may end up doing
350
lithium ion or
watts coming in
phosphate.
for 2.4 hours
But
to a full charge. That will probably
I don't want to
change
put too
as
much
the
into this
battery
house too.
gets charged a bit. Let's just start the timer. And if these price claims are true, that makes up for some of the downsides of sodium ion batteries because they're not perfect. And I know you've noticed one of them, which is despite having less battery capacity and less power output, this sodium ion power station is bigger and heavier than the lithium one. That's because sodium ion batteries are less energy dense. That's fine for grid storage or home backup batteries, but it's not great for a portable power station or EV battery packs. All right, let's do our first check-in.
Well, if you're doing around the town car EVs, I mean, that's not too much of an issue. As long as the packs can last.
As for the sodium ion power station, only 12%, 460 watts coming in, 1.8 hours to a full charge. How much cheaper are we actually talking here? The most recent source I could find says that the lithium iron phosphate battery cells cost just under $60 per kilowatt hour. And for this model, when you add in all the extra stuff that makes the power station, based on its current price, it always fluctuates, it works out to 50 cents or so per watt hour. Those prices are good, and they've come down a lot in recent years, but I've seen recent headlines talk about a sodium ion battery that will cost as little as $10 to $19 per kilowatt hour, which is incredible if true. So how much does this sodium ion power station cost?
That could bring down battery costs in electric cars quite a bit, if true.
Just under 1,400 watts coming in for 0.2 hours to a full charge. And the sodium ion battery is at 66%. Now it's up to its full charging speed of 1,400 watts for 0.2 hours to a full charge. At the time that I'm filming this power station has basically just come out, and I think it's on a discount because of that. It's currently $799. It's for a 900 watt hour battery that works out to 89 cents per watt hour. It's more expensive than the lithium power station. The lithium
That's
power
disappointing.
station just finished charging. That took 57 minutes.
Now, I know you were
But I wonder if
expecting
it's
a
because
better
it's newer
price,
and there's
so what
R&D
happened
costs
here?
going into it.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, let's just say Blue Eddy should really thank the world's biggest battery company, CATL, because based on my research, it was their announcement about their next-gen sodium-ion batteries that kicked this hype train into high gear. These batteries, which are supposed to go into mass production next month, can apparently work in temperatures as low as -40 degrees, last up to 10,000 cycles, and
Why don't you just lead
eventually
with that?
are supposed to cost way
because
less
we want to
than
watch the
lithium
whole
batteries.
video.
Even though this is a pretty impressive battery, it performs comparably to the best lithium batteries. In some cases, it even outperforms them. Do not for a moment confuse the sodium-ion battery that's in here with the ones that companies like CATL are promising. If you do want to check out this power station though, there will be links below. And do me a quick favor, double check that you're subscribed because I got some fun videos I'm working on. The sodium-ion power station just finished charging. It took 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Interesting. I might check them out. All right. Next video on the list. Every Intel GPU runs on a Raspberry Pi. Really, Vampire? You have an Intel GPU one and an NVIDIA GPU one? Well, every Intel GPU versus just NVIDIA GPU. Do I want to watch both tonight? We'll save that for tomorrow. All right, election canceled as it can't be decrypted. This is interesting.
An election has just been cancelled because it's impossible to decrypt the results. But what makes this funny is that experts in encryption were the ones running the election. Also in your Hacking News Roundup, TP-Link sues Netgear and how an MP3 is helping to destroy hypersonic missiles.
Wait, what?
But first, the world's most renowned cryptologists can't decrypt their own election. These guys publish journals, run events, all in the aim of furthering research in cryptology, hence the name. These guys are important for enabling the research of encryption, which, among other things, quietly stops the internet from falling apart.
Makes sense.
Since their formation in 1982, they've
That's been a
managed to
minute.
remain free of drama and controversy until now. Every year, they run an election to decide who gets to be on their board of directors.
Remind me
Being
tomorrow,
experts in their
Vampire,
field,
we'll watch
they
'em.
use a very cool encrypted voting platform. Helios makes it easy to run your own election. It's free and open source, putting privacy and security first. But no matter how you run an election, at some point you still have to trust someone to access and read the results. Instead of relying on just one person, Helios divides the decryption key among multiple trustees,
Oh,
with all
no.
of their keys needed to decrypt the results.
I know where
The
this is
organization
going.
decided that 2 trustees just aren't enough because
I
they
knew
could
it.
collude to steal the election, so instead they used 3. Their 2025 election has just ended, and after a whole month of voting and no doubt
I was
fierce campaigning
thinking they would
between
do
the candidates,
16.
they've encountered a
So
fatal
not as bad.
technical problem, an oopsie. Whilst 2 trustees have provided their keys, the third guy has not.
Oh,
this
no.
cryptologist has lost his decryption key,
Oh,
apparently,
no.
making it totally impossible to access the results, giving this all the irony of a fire station burning down.
Good
which
God.
actually happened recently in Germany. It was brand new, but burnt to a crisp because they thought that a fire alarm system wasn't necessary in a building full of firefighters.
Wait, what? That actually happened in Germany? How? Wait, what? I have to look this up. Hold on. Hold up. Oh my God, it's true. This actually happened. Holy crap, I didn't even know about that. Wow. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Yeah, not installing fire detectors in a fire department. If there's one, what blows my mind is, wouldn't they have had to do, now I don't know how German building inspections go, but when you're using buildings for commercial or public uses, don't they have to do an inspection of the alert systems? Which usually involves this fire department. Like the fire marshal in the U.S. and many states comes in and inspects these systems. Wow! Isn't Germany usually the country that's like, we build our systems to be super reliable in case things go wrong, you know, it's just super durable. Like, German engineering, come on! But holy crap, sorry, that derailed me. Let's go on.
Similar story here. Whilst the voting system was cryptographically secure, as evidenced by the fact that they can't access the results, so caught up in the details,
Also
they
shut
missed
down
something
stupid
that
parking
someone
covers from
half as
apartment
intelligent
complexes
would have spotted,
over 3+
inadvertently
months.
designing an election.
That's what I'm
which
saying.
could be
Usually they stop a
sabotaged
lot
by
of
single
shit because, like,
person.
hey, fire
However,
hazard.
the organisation is confident that this is an honest but unfortunate human mistake, with the trustee who accidentally lost his key now having resigned. At this point,
you better damn well resign, because that is an embarrassing move. Bro, I'm running the encryption, organization over here, and I didn't think to back up my goddamn encryption key.
they don't have much choice but to completely rerun the election, now having changed the rules so only 2 out of the 3 keys are needed to decrypt the results, which kind of undermines their concern of 2 trustees possibly colluding. Perhaps a system of 5 keys where only 3 of them are needed would let them have their cake and eat it too. But anyway, whilst today's sponsor can't bake you a cake, they can help you get your personal data deleted. Ever Googled yourself out of boredom, only to find your name, address, phone number, and other...
Okay, we're not skipping over because blah, blah, blah. Y'all have heard me talk about Delete Me as well. I'm affiliated. They're great. Been using them for years. Not trying to hate on this, creator. They need to get their bag too. But I'm just going to move on because y'all have heard me give this spiel about data brokers and all that quite a bit. What if everyone has an encryption key and only 50% plus 1 needs to be used? So you're talking about shamming or sharding. That's why it blows my mind why they did a cipher like that. Because I was thinking, hey, 16, why don't we do like 16 keys with the requirement of, let's say, like 8. So you have 16 different keys, but only 8 people have to contribute it. I don't know why they didn't consider that.
scenario you...
Oh, but on another note, before we kick back in, I do have, I did find their software, Helios server, for Helios voting. Looks interesting. I'm gonna poke at that later. Anyway.
Find your free. Just shoot off a customer, make it their mission to have your data wiped. They're eligible. Next up,
Begun. The
router.
war has.
So TP-Link is suing Netgear. The lawsuit alleges that Netgear has been operating a smear campaign to falsely cast TP-Link as having been infiltrated by the Chinese government, which is totally baseless. Well, according to TP-Link. More widely,
We've been hearing a lot of this, haven't we?
For a while now, getting to the point where it's an existential problem for TP-Link. A ban on the sale of their hardware is now a real possibility, with multiple US federal departments backing the idea. And Netgear has to some extent been fanning the flames, allegedly. The lawsuit claims that Netgear used influencers to propagate its false messages, but stops short of mentioning exactly who. Also alleged is that Netgear spent hundreds of thousands of dollars lobbying politicians on the topic of competition with China and cybersecurity. On the China question, TP-Link was founded in China 30 years ago, but their American operations are done under a different company now, which they say functions as a standalone entity, totally separate. However, that hasn't unstuck accusations that the Chinese government is somehow secretly in control. Netgear's CEO refers to TP-Link as a national security risk, a falsehood, according to the lawsuit. He also referenced a Microsoft blog post which he says exposed TP-Link's role in typhoons that the US is facing. Typhoon here being a term used to refer to Chinese hackers. The Microsoft blog post reveals that Chinese state hackers did indeed exploit a vulnerability in TP-Link devices to create a botnet, but Microsoft didn't suggest that TP-Link backdoored their devices on purpose, or that TP-Link enabled this in any way. And whilst there are several cases of TP-Link routers being exploited and used by Chinese government hackers, on the flip side, there are also several high-profile cases of Netgear routers also having been hacked into and used by the Chinese.
There's no company that's immune to this.
An American company. TP-Link really feels like they're being unfairly singled out here, and given the company has a 60% share of home and small business routers in the US,
I did not know that.
Ban on their hardware would really shake up the market, something that Netgear,
I did not know they were that prevalent. Interesting.
Stands to benefit from, and they're preparing for it. Netgear's CEO said that they're already looking at investing in their supply in the anticipation of a potential ban. When you're a network equipment manufacturer, the accusation that you're backdoored by the Chinese government is about as bad as being called a witch in 16th century England.
Witch!
As Huawei found out the hard way. Whether TP-Link executives are secretly taking orders from the Chinese government, I can't pretend to know. However, in terms of real publicly available information, I couldn't find any evidence that TP-Link devices are overrepresented in terms of vulnerabilities.
I actually tried to find the same correlating information and couldn't find anything.
Much concern about TP-Link being less secure than other brands. If anything, the general consensus is that they're cheap and reliable. So there's not much reason to bin your TP-Link router, but if you don't want to take any risks, maybe take a look at flashing it with
I know quite a few that have bought them and flashed
them.
Next up,
how an MP3 is helping to destroy hypersonic missiles. Meet the KH-47M2 Kinzhal ballistic missile.
Wait. Are they gonna play Ozzy Osbourne's War Pigs? Or AC/DC Iron Man? Let's find out.
It was described as invincible back when it was introduced in 2018. Travelling at speeds of over Mach 10, they've been raining down on Ukraine since the start of the war. Patriot missile systems provided by the US have had some luck in shooting them down, but Ukraine is short on ammunition for these things, which isn't helped by the fact that a single Patriot missile costs more than $4 million.
God!
On top of that, there's recent reports that Russia has modified these things so that they follow a more unpredictable flight path, making intercepting them way more difficult, reducing Ukraine's interception rate from 37% to just 6% in a matter of weeks.
Send $4 million per missile? Sure.
Has had some success, apparently. This comes from 404 Media, who spoke to a member of Nightwatch, a Ukrainian electronic warfare team. He explains that these things use GLONASS in order to navigate. It's like GPS, but Russian, and you can actually see on a downed missile these little ceramic tiles. These are the antennas, and if they look familiar...
You know what's also interesting is like iPhones and a few other devices not only support GPS, but they also support GLONASS. So you can actually get the advantage of both satellites. But yeah, it's their own thing. I think it's like some holdover from the Cold War or that. I don't know.
Pretty similar to GPS antennas used in hobbyist electronics, but the missile uses up to 16 of them in an attempt to counteract jamming, which typically works by spamming random noise in order to overpower the signal coming from the 24 GLONASS satellites. But according to Nightwatch, the Ukrainian company Lima makes an electronic warfare system that takes a different approach. Instead of just random noise, an MP3 works just as well, so they've been using a song about a Ukrainian nationalist instead. So Bandera is a slightly controversial individual who, during World War II, was at one point allied with a certain mid-century German fella that I'll most definitely get demonetized for talking about. Russian media sometimes uses the very existence of this guy as justification for modern-day Ukraine being riddled with mid-century German sympathizers. Really? So Nightwatch thought it would be hilarious to use a song about him ironically poking fun at the Russians. But in some sense, I guess that does play into the Russian position, but I hope that makes sense. After the song hits, the Lima system exploits the fact that GLONASS is open and unauthenticated, so it spoofs a signal, making the missile think it's in Lima, Peru. Naturally, the missile isn't too happy about this.
That's interesting.
Tries to suddenly change direction. But when you're traveling at Mach 5, this doesn't work very well, with the stress of the sudden change of direction ripping the missile apart, and it just falls to the ground where it's being torn apart and analysed.
That's
Nightwatch
clever.
claims they've managed to down 19 missiles in the past couple weeks using this technique, but this of course comes with the usual caveats that these kinds of numbers are of course impossible to verify. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.
Huh. Interesting. Yes, your MP3 can destroy a lot. Okay. Microsoft Monopoly explained with bananas. I like bananas. Oh, come on. Really?
Front, left.
Okay, you are loading. Come on, YouTube. Do your thing.
Is Devin, and he's got
I don't know
a
what
huge
happened.
problem. See, Devin's an IT engineer at Bain Street, a famous hedge fund. Life's good. Fixing bugs, clearing tickets, and keeping the company's infrastructure running. He's got a reputation for solving problems fast and knows PowerShell like the back of his hand. But one day, he gets a call from up high.
You know what this reminds me of? Have any of you seen Jonathan Colton? He's like a pretty well-known comedic musician. He had a song called Code Monkey. Code Monkey like Fritos. Code Monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. If you haven't listened to it, you should. I'm not going to play it because, you know, that'll certainly mean that I have to go back to my video later and then edit that part out so there's not going to be music. But, I'll put it in the Discord for y'all. Is this another AI video?
Devin's
Who
used to
knows?
rescuing sales floor monkeys from terminal meltdowns.
It
But a
could
call
just be
from the
bad art.
CTO, that's either a disaster,
Maybe.
a pink slip, or, worst of all, both. Devin picks up. His heart sinks to his bowels. It's even worse. Microsoft's ending support for Windows 10, the operating system that more than half the company's 1,000-monkey workforce uses every day. And Devin knows a lot of their ancient hardware doesn't stand a chance of running Windows 11. Hell, some of those machines struggle to load 5 Chrome tabs at once. But there's no choice. Legal's breathing down his neck. The whole company must upgrade to stay compliant.
Okay.
Outdated software is a hacker's wet dream, and nobody wants to be the next Discord. So
get
with
it.
no time to lose, Devin and his boss scramble, buying new systems, updating what they can, and porting hundreds of thousands of documents onto newer devices and drives for safekeeping. It's a race against time that costs the company tens of thousands of bananas. But here's the thing, Devin's not alone. Across the jungle, from tiny startups to sprawling megacores, millions of IT monkeys are getting the same call, facing the same impossible reality. From a humble convenience store tracking purchases in Excel, to a Fortune 500 megacorp prepping a shareholder deck in PowerPoint, everyone depends on Microsoft, the
Right.
developers of the Windows operating system. In other words, if you're not running Windows, you're running into problems. But how did we get here? How did Microsoft become so influential? And more importantly, should any one company have this kind of power in the first place?
No,
This
they
is
shouldn't.
The sunsetting of Windows 10 explained. The story starts in the mid-1970s, with a young monkey named Bill and his friend Paul founding Microsoft in a tiny garage. Their big break came when they licensed an operating system to IBM, and soon their
It's
tech
kind of
became the
ridiculous
standard for
that they like
practically
spent,
every
I think,
computer
like
everywhere.
$20,000
See,
for
Bill here,
IBM.
he's a
Was it
Barvard
DOS?
dropout with a knack for both business and code, and used these gifts to steer Microsoft from scrappy upstart to tech titan. Not
They
without
did
their
that
fair share
meme.
of drama and controversy, mind you. Let me know if you want a video on that, by the way.
Oh, really?
Thanks to Bill and Paul's skills, by the time the 1990s rolled around, Windows was everywhere, and
Right.
Microsoft's grip on the world's desktops was nearly absolute. And over the past few decades, Windows has maintained its dominance as the undisputed alpha of operating systems. Even today, over 70% of desktop computers worldwide still run at least some version of Windows, with Windows 10 alone powering hundreds of millions of machines in offices, schools, hospitals, and government agencies.
Right.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. In the business world, the numbers are even more staggering. 9 out of 10 Fortune 500 companies rely on Windows to keep their operations running.
Yep.
From spreadsheets to servers, presentations to payroll, Windows is the invisible backbone of the modern workplace. But
Server
with
is in
that dominance
question.
also comes massive vulnerability.
Mostly Active Directory.
Because when Windows stumbles, the entire jungle feels it. Just look at what happened in July 2024, when a global tech outage linked to a faulty Windows update wreaked havoc across countless industries. The worst of it? Airports ground to a halt, flights delayed or canceled, and thousands...
It wasn't really a Windows update. They're talking about the CrowdStrike incident. Now, it was tied to using Windows, don't get me wrong. But that wasn't a Windows update. That was CrowdStrike. Okay? Let's get that clear.
Monkeys stranded, all because critical systems running on Windows went down. And it didn't end there. Hospitals postponed surgeries, banks froze transactions, and businesses lost millions in a matter of hours. It's a grim reminder.
Yeah, I remember that day.
When a single company's software is required for so much of daily life, even a single botched update can ripple out and disrupt the lives of millions. Some particularly critical monkeys have even gone so far as to call Microsoft anti-consumer and monopolistic in their practices.
I agree with that
And with how
statement.
things are going,
I'm one of those
it's not hard to
monkeys.
see why more and more are starting to think that way. And with their recent decision to deprecate Windows 10, it's going to happen all over again. But this time, it looks like the cards were deliberately stacked in the corpo monkey's favor. But what does all this mean for average monkeys like you and me?
We're effed!
Other than needing a couple of software updates or upgrading ancient tech to meet modern requirements, it can't be that
It's not
bad, right?
ancient. You know, people that have like
It can. And the
pretty
worst
recent
part
machines.
is that it's already happening. See, for Devin and millions of IT staff like him, the clock is ticking. With Windows 10 support ending, every machine that uses the now
Ended.
outdated OS becomes a sitting duck for hackers, malware, and a Pandora's box of compliance nightmares. Companies scramble to update hundreds of thousands of computers, an already massive and costly undertaking. But
yeah.
their nightmare doesn't end there. Most older hardware can't handle Windows 11's hefty requirements. But while all this is happening in the background,
I remember
remember
the
that
TPM
sunsetting
requirement.
means perfectly good devices, some barely a few years old, are headed straight for the nearest landfill. Microsoft really is out here doing everything they can to go from global warming to global heating, huh?
Yep.
That's literal
The RAM
mountains of
price ain't
plastic,
gonna get
metal,
much
and
better.
toxic components, all because of a single software giant's decision. Really makes you feel like the whole sustainability facade Microsoft puts up is little more
Their
than an
loss
act,
is
huh?
my gain. I get
But
cheap,
don't worry, we'll
cheap
get to
PC
that,
hardware.
believe me. But it's not just the environment that pays the price. The scramble to upgrade
Sit down,
could
kiddo.
also mean
Old man
rushed
Red
data
Fang is going to
transfers,
tell you a
lost
story of
files,
when
and
the
panicked
fall of Windows
employees.
started.
Small businesses and schools.
Okay, no joke. This might be wishful thinking, but I see the writing on the wall that this could eventually be equivalent to Gen Z's Sears moment. What I mean by that is, millennials all grew up with Sears. Sears was this major catalog store, over 100 years old. It's been pretty ubiquitous in American culture. Sears has gone bankrupt. There's really no Sears anymore. I mean, they kind of exist, but not really. It's more like repairs and stuff like that. I feel like Microsoft may potentially be heading down that path because of the moves that they've been making. And this, in Gen Z, may have their Sears moment of, yeah, we had this company that was like kind of ubiquitous our whole life and then just kind of made some bad decisions and it's gone. It might be wishful thinking, but I think the tide has really changed because I remember when Windows 8 came around. A lot of people did try Linux and then went back because they're like, I can't game on it, I can't do this or that. Now SteamOS, Valve specifically, has thrown a lot of money into it. And it's actually become an extremely viable alternative. I'll be curious to see how this plays out in the next few years. But I don't think Microsoft really has that tight grip they once did.
Already running on tight budgets, especially in this abysmal economy, are hit the hardest.
Yep.
Not many have the margins or bananas on hand to afford the new hardware. So they risk running unsupported systems, putting their data and their customers and employees in danger. With no other choice,
And this is
a
worse
lot of
than the
monkeys
Windows
turn to
XP
big
going
text
out of
cloud
it.
storage, like Microsoft's
support
own
issue.
OneDrive, hoping for a quick fix. But here's where things get a little, say, Black Mirror. See, when monkeys upload their files to these platforms, they're not just laying there untouched. Hell, Microsoft's own privacy policy says they can access, disclose, and preserve personal data, including your files, if they think it's necessary. And for anyone who cares about privacy,
to be tech illiterate, and that's why it's not going away.
Monkey
You could say the same about Mac.
But I do not like megacorporations being able to spy on me just for uploading my portfolio onto OneDrive as a backup. We need an alternative.
But you can use Linux without having to know about computers as much
because
these
it
days.
offers end-to-end encryption, meaning only you and monkeys that you deem trustworthy can access your files. And it's not just your file contents. Proton Drive also encrypts metadata like file names, folder names.
Gen Z will
previews,
ask what is
so your
Windows
files
because
are
half
well
of Gen
and
Z
truly
only
your own.
use phones, not
All this
computers.
protection
Oh,
also
I've straight
comes
up
in
met a
easy
lot
to
of people that are like, well, my
functioning
first
exactly
computer
like our
was
favorite
when I was in
productivity tools
college.
like Google Docs.
And I sit
look,
there
here's our team
dumbfounded.
reviewing our next video right now, just without the risk of Google flagging it and reporting us to Uncle Don. Plus, using Proton
This is a
Drive means
clever
no data
way
brokers,
to advertise
advertisers, or
Proton,
megacorps
which I
can
do
use, sell, or train
endorse.
AI using your data. So whether
Y'all
you're a
have known I've been
business
affiliated
migrating
with
sensitive
Proton for a
documents,
while. I
or
use
just a
them
monkey
personally as
looking
well.
to keep their personal files away from prying corpo monkeys.
Most
Proton
Windows
Drive
users
has
don't
your
even know
back.
how to check for
And
Windows
hey, they're
Update.
kind enough to sponsor this
You can
video.
say
so you
say
know
the
for a
same
fact
thing
they
about
take
Android
privacy
users,
seriously.
and those are Linux.
If
You
you
can
want
say the
cloud
same thing
storage
about
that
Chrome
actually
users.
gives
You
a
can say
damn
the
about
same
your
thing
right
about
to
Mac.
privacy. Go check them out at proton.me/drive/monkey explains for a massive 60% discount on the house. Thank you, Proton, for sponsoring this video.
Give me a sticker
Regardless,
of your Pengu,
it's clear
like
that this
on
is
messages.
not just a harmless software update. Microsoft will tell you it's all about
Oh, what,
security
my
and
penguin?
innovation. But somehow, their idea of progress always seems to result in
Maybe.
monkeys buying new stuff and making them more
I
bananas.
don't know about in TikTok.
Funny how
but
that
yeah.
works. Their decisions always seem to benefit the company
I haven't really
handsomely,
tried sending
while
messages on
users and
TikTok.
organizations are left to shoulder the costs and consequences. And yet, as the world grapples with the fallout, mountains of discarded hardware, lost data, and strained budgets, Microsoft is quick to assure us of their commitment to sustainability. Their marketing spin and branding is
Okay, we're gonna pause for a second. I really hate how tech companies try to portray themselves as sustainable, but then force us into e-waste. Apple likes to say like, "Oh, we're sustainable. We use sustainable materials, and we do it in environmentally friendly ways." But yet they're against right to repair. And I know some people are gonna say, "Well, they've been doing." No, they really haven't. Not to the levels they should be. And the laptops themselves get replaced almost every year. And they basically, convince you that you need to buy a new device. Microsoft is no better.
with promises of a greener future, carbon-neutral goals, and responsible innovation. But how do these claims stack up against the metric tons of e-waste generated by a single software decision? Let's take a closer look at just how green these windows really are. See, Devin and his team are still dealing with the mess. Like millions of IT workers around the world, he's suddenly scrambling to find space in the office to house.
Monkeys
or just
explain
dispose of old
Microsoft
hardware that can't
monopoly.
run Windows 11. Picture storage rooms filling up with pallets of laptops, desktops, and all-in-ones. Machines that are still
My
perfectly
Windows
functional,
11 tablet
now rendered obsolete by a software deadline.
2018.
This exact
Nice.
scenario is happening right now and could impact up to 240 million devices worldwide. But the worst has yet to come. Most of these devices won't get a second life. They'll end up as e-waste. And e-waste isn't like ordinary trash. As it breaks down,
Right.
it releases a toxic cocktail of heavy metals and plastics that leach into soil and water.
This is why
harming
I am
communities and
so
ecosystems.
pro
All this is happening
using
while the company
Linux and
responsible
stuff
for
in
the
your home
fallout
lab
is
with
busy
used
putting out press
computers,
releases, market
wherever
reports, and
possible, and
sustainability
makes sense.
speeches. Hell, if you believe Microsoft's press releases, you'd think they were
The more machines we can
single-handedly
keep out
saving
of
the
landfills, the
corporate
better.
monkeys tout milestones like contracting 34 gigawatts of carbon-free electricity, diverting 88% of operational waste, and allegedly protecting more land than they use. But peer behind the vines, and the reality in landfills, e-waste facilities, and mountains of unused hardware staring Devin in the face tells a different story. Where were all the
Fix my Wi-Fi so my
sustainability
stream doesn't
advocates at
lag. We'll be back
Microsoft when this
soon. Okay.
decision was pushed through?
Well, I
Even
know it's not my
Microsoft knows
stream.
that their efforts don't represent the reality of the situation. Because their own
I
reports
think my
admit
firewall
that greenhouse gas
optimizations
emissions
fix
have
the
actually
stream
increased
quality.
over the last couple of years thanks to AI, cloud infrastructure, and data centers.
Oh yeah, we just talked
And while
about AI
Microsoft
and
touts
everything
its
and how
zero
that's
waste
horrible for the
and
environment.
carbon negative by 2030 ambitions, the forced obsolescence of Windows 10 is sending mountains of perfectly good devices to the dump, generating e-waste on a scale that no recycling program can realistically offset.
This is true.
The disconnect between the marketing and the reality is hard to ignore. But the problem is that there's practically no
AI
mainstream
mentioned, no
alternative.
way.
And that's by design. Remember that Microsoft has built and defended, very controversially, a near monopoly in the operating system market. From the earliest days of Windows, they've made sure that for most monkeys and businesses,
Thanks, the quality is
using a
nearly too
computer
sharp.
means using Windows. The
Yeah,
result?
I did a
When
lot of
Microsoft makes a
optimizations.
decision, the world has little choice but to bend the knee.
Basically,
no
I think it
matter
was
the cost.
Suricata,
Sure, alternatives
the
exist.
intrusion detection and
Linux,
prevention
Mac OS,
system.
But they're a drop in the ocean compared to the devices running
And
Microsoft-owned
I've
systems.
moved it to
And
inline
switching isn't just a costly hassle.
rather than the
It's
legacy
a logistical
mode.
and financial nightmare. Imagine having to migrate hundreds of thousands of workers from using Windows to Mac. Businesses everywhere would grind to a halt for days or weeks almost. But make
Not necessarily. Now, there are edge cases with lines of business software and things like that. Most applications that are being used inside of businesses are in web browsers. That's the honest truth. Most of the things are software as a service, whereas to opposed back in the Windows XP days, yes, everything was local. Now, are there lines of business applications that run locally? Absolutely. There are custom applications. I know where I work, we have a custom application that runs the majority of our business stuff. But there's nothing necessarily stopping them from porting that to run on Linux. But the majority of the stack we use day to day, at least in my job, and I know from a lot of my colleagues' jobs, is running in the cloud. But yeah.
mistake. Microsoft knows their dominance, and this decision to forcibly outmode hundreds of millions of devices only confirms it. They count on it to stay as the alpha, all while the company continues to tout its green credentials and innovation. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, yeah, because,
Look, there are many, many other shady decisions surrounding the company,
yeah.
but what I'm about to share should tell you all you need to know about their priorities. In 2025, the CEO of Microsoft was graciously granted a massive pay bump to almost 100 million bananas,
Good
all
God!
while laying off thousands of workers, overseeing one of the world's worst tech outages, and dealing irreparable damage to the environment while sunsetting Windows 10.
Boo!
All this chaos is just noise. Doesn't matter if shareholder value goes up, right? And that's the final piece of the puzzle. As we like to say on the channel, always follow the bananas. Despite the marketing spin, the environmental damage, the logistical nightmare of upgrading millions of devices, always remember who's making a killing from the fallout.
Yep.
The one selling the devices, the OS keys, the Office packages. But thankfully, it seems like jungles around the world are noticing this disturbing trend and are starting to take action. In recent years, governments and regulators have started to push back against the unchecked power of tech giants like Microsoft. The European bears, for example, have ramped up antitrust investigations and passed landmark legislation like the Digital Markets Act, aiming to rein in monopolistic practices. In the US jungle, Congress monkeys are finally waking up to the risks of corporate consolidation, with renewed calls for antitrust enforcement and even talk of
Yeah, I've
breaking
been
up big
shocked
tech.
why we've been sleeping
Some
so
jungles
long
are going
on
further,
all
exploring
the
requirements for
antitrust
longer
laws.
software support life cycles, right to repair laws, and stricter e-waste regulations. The message is clear. The days of tech giants being given a
Europe
blank
has
check
bears.
are coming to an end. Of course, these changes won't happen overnight. But the tide is turning. The
That's an
more
old
we shine a
Saturday
light
Night
on
Live
these
reference.
issues, the environmental fallout, the forced obsolescence, the lack of real alternatives and accountability, the harder it becomes for even the most dominant alpha to ignore. If any monkeys are confused, just remember that this is a simple explainer covering the sunsetting of Windows 10 and the, let's say, interesting practices of the company behind it all. Please do not sue Monkey, and many thanks to the Banana Republic for generously bankrolling and funding these videos. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.
That was a pretty good video, describing it as bananas. Monkey explains. Okay. Alright, so we got time for a few more videos. So we got a couple of shorts here from Vampire. We'll get to those Jeff Keerling videos tomorrow on stream. Mods, remind me. Okay, so what is this? No more B-Sod? No more blue screen of doom?
Microsoft apparently hates comedy because they're taking away the one thing that actually brings people joy. There's something special about seeing a blue screen of death popped up on your local Coke freestyle machine, digital billboards, or even random surfaces at the mall. But a new Windows update is making it so you're about to see way less of these, and it's a dang shame. The Copilot people just announced their new digital signage mode, specifically made for screens like this that'll have a bunch of eyes on it pretty much at all times. Since certain businesses might either see a visual crash like this to be anything from unprofessional to a decent
I'm blinking a lot.
The new mode will automatically turn the screen black after 15 seconds of displaying the BSOD. It's worth noting that the vast majority of the time, a blue screen is pretty much immediately followed by an automatic reboot, but in fringe cases where it doesn't, there's now that extra little safety net to keep people from pointing and laughing at the glitchy signs in Times Square.
Aww. I like pointing out blue screens in Wilds. You're taking away one of my few joys in life, Microsoft. Okay. What's this? It seems like a big improvement. This looks like a Zima board, if I'm not mistaken, which is a really nice single board computer. I've wanted to get my hands on one. I just haven't been able to justify going and buying one. Look, limited resources, still a small creator, so I prioritize my spending where best possible.
Box is a Zima board.
Hey, I was right.
Well, actually,
they had a new one
for a Zima board too. The Zima board is a cool home server. Like any home server, the Zima
That's a
board
nice little
is
box they
designed to
have.
host your files and your movies and your photos and all of that locally on your own network. Now, if you've heard of Zima board, you might remember the first generation, which was a little bit of a controversial
donations?
device. Some folks felt it was not worth
I get a few subs and some people donating. Most of my money actually comes from sponsors.
The Zima board 2 is an upgrade in every way. A faster CPU, faster RAM, faster PCIe slot, and this full metal enclosure that works both as a passive heatsink and as a very cool design element.
I
They put a lot of thought into every element of the Zima board experience. One of my favorite parts is the cardboard box that the board came in. If you cut it in half, it actually works as a nice mounting plate to put a couple hard drives in your Zima board. Once you
That's clever. I like that.
Their Linux-based operating system that makes it really
environmentally friendly.
open source applications on this device. I'm not going to tell you the Zima board is for everyone. It's for people who want to tinker a little less than a Raspberry Pi and a little more than a Synology or another NAS, but it's a cool middle ground, and I think for some people it's going to be a great fit. This box is a Zima.
Okay, so let's take a look at that board for a second here, because I'm curious now. But yeah, most of my money comes in from sponsors, people signing up to Proton and other partners. I have a couple, I get a few per year maybe that go straight to me and are like, hey, we want to have you try this product and all that, like Doppler. I've been really, but you know I'm very picky about my sponsors, and I've turned down, no joke, about 99% of opportunities because I'm very particular. Okay. So yeah, we see what it looks like. Just upgraded my 2 older laptops to Linux. Nice! Any particular distribution you went with, or are you just kind of playing around now? Okay, so they have... Go away! Okay, native SATA and PCIe, cool. Do you keep any desktop AI apps? Really all I use is LM Studio and GitHub Copilot Pro Plus inside of my Visual Studio Code. Appreciate you sticking to your principles, Chief. Yeah. Well, without my principles, what else I got? I'm not going to sell my soul out. Could I make a lot of money? Absolutely. But I want to keep my soul. And look, that's why I like tell people, hey, if you want to, you know, support the channel, Patreon, Stream Elements tipping, Twitch subs, YouTube memberships, I've rolled those out. We have, You know, you can go get Proton through the links that I have in my bio. You can check out the other, you know, sponsors that I use. Any of the products that I actually talk about in the TikTok shop. Like I recently just talked about this little guy over here. The little Davoom Mini 2. I actually like this little guy, so I keep it on my desk. How much for half of your soul? Well, you see, my mother was a redhead, so I don't even have half a soul. I am a daywalker, son of a ginger. New to this, I'm using Ubuntu. Check out Pop! OS. That's what I use daily. It's nice. But I do recommend trying out a bunch of different distributions. Ubuntu's a nice place to get your toes in the water. Pop! OS is a fork of Ubuntu with a lot more polish and improvements. So everything that, you know, you learned about Ubuntu, apt package manager, stuff like that, applies to Pop! OS. They're going to have a new version in a few weeks, Pop! OS 2404. Did you not catch the joke I had about half my soul? Mint isn't bad for older systems. It's alright. Okay, so we got dual 2.5 gig Ethernet. That's nice. Oh, you can even run pfSense on this? Wait, what? What CPU is this running? Oh, it's an Intel N150. That explains it. So, yeah, that actually wouldn't be too bad for a light pfSense firewall. Now, of course, you will need to get a switch, because you'll basically have one port for WAN, one port for LAN, but with that PCI Express port there, you could attach an Intel network interface card easily. Now, they have the Zima 2 832. What's the 1664? What's the difference? I don't understand the difference between the 1664. Oh, is it just two of them? Oh, yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, it looks like that's what's the case. Okay. Not a bad little guy. But again, it's one of those situations of, I just don't personally see the use case for me to use it. But I can see why a lot of other people would want to use it. The Intel N150 is just a very weak CPU for a lot of my needs. Because if I'm going that low end, it's usually a Raspberry Pi and I'm going on the ARM line for a little bit more energy efficiency. And then when I need more than that, I go to Intel Atom, like my server board that I have, or maybe an Intel Xeon D, or AMD Ryzen, Epic. You know, there's just... It's a nice little tinker board, do not get me wrong. Now, if I got my hands on it, that'd totally be interesting to play with. I just can't justify me spending my own money on this right now, knowing it would probably lay around with some of my pies. I got a drawer full of single board computers. But it's not a bad device. Alright. One more video.
Apple pie.
Well,
at least it's not cottage cheese.
Add the juice of half a lemon.
you know, when I heard apple pie for Thanksgiving, this is not exactly what I had in mind.
Oh, God.
Little bit.
Then mix together 1 cup of sugar.
Jesus!
And 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour.
You know when you look at a cup of sugar, you're like, God damn, that's a lot of sugar. I really don't have sugar. I barely do, because both of my parents have diabetes, so I try to avoid it like the plague. Work out, so I'm more, what's the word? Insulin sensitive, which is a good thing you want. I am apparently one of only 2 people, actually, yeah, one of 3 people that I know of in just my mother's side that are not even pre-diabetic.
Evenly sprinkle it over your pie. Do not stir. Do not stir.
It's snowing.
Any recommendation for a
Just
comfy
like that,
gaming
do
chair?
not
We'll get
stir,
that in a
y'all.
second.
Now you need some butter.
Is anybody else coming for Thanksgiving?
Sprinkle on some cinnamon, just a little bit.
Oh yeah, cinnamon, I'm sure will bring this all together.
Protect your crust. Use some foil if you ain't got one of these.
Protect a disaster? I don't think so.
Now bake it at 400 for 30 minutes. Reduce the heat to 375 and bake it for another 30 minutes.
And now we pray to whoever will listen.
Let it cool. Refrigerate it. Then you can cut it.
Okay, now you go try it.
I do not want to try that.
Well, too bad. I did the last part, now you do the eating part.
You set me up.
Who set who up is not important. What's the matter? It's fighting back.
Oh, God!
That's actually pretty good.
No, I mean,
No!
No way.
no lie.
You know, it's a little like the texture's a little. There's something there.
Oh, the
it's a little like gelatinous.
The texture awful. It is
Yeah.
silicone. But the taste
I was like, that does not feel like the mouthfeel would be really good.
is.
And you get the cinnamon.
No doubt, it's still depressing.
There's no apple pie. There's no apple pie I've ever had before. I tell you, throw some apples in there.
Yeah.
Just throw some apples in there. This is. I eat a slice.
I would too. I'd actually eat a slice of this.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Okay, bye. Important is you try the bean pie. Well, bean pie.
Bean pie.
Apple.
We have 2 gays on screen. We making progress in 2025. Okay, so, I don't know what your username is. You just got like a chicken emoji. Comfy gaming chair. First thing I will tell you is, don't buy a chair that specifically says it's a gaming chair. It's a trap. So my recommendation, go get yourself an ergonomic office chair. So on the low end, I recommend the Staples. They have the Hyken chair, spelled Hyken. Hotel, Yankee, Kilo, Echo, November. If you get them on sale, they can be about $100 or so bucks. They're pretty good. I have one upstairs. But if you can swing it, the Herman Miller Aeron, really good. Now, a lot of people will get sticker shock at it's $2,000. You don't need to buy it new. Look up used furniture warehouses often that are near you. They do a lot of liquidations for different businesses. I picked this one up for about $400 or so. It's still great. I've had it for several years now, and then I bought the aftermarket headrest for it. Totally great job. Alright, let's at least get one more video. We'll get one last video for the night, hopefully. Let's see how long this is. Hold on, before I get into it. Oh no. That's a long... No, we're not watching that whole thing. That's 5.5 hours. No, there's no way I'm watching that whole thing. I love you, HBX, but I'm not watching that whole thing. Okay, so we're gonna watch one last video. This is Firefox fixed Linux support after 21 years of waiting. Wait, what? But I'm on Firefox. What did they fix? Okay, I don't know what's with YouTube tonight.
Mozilla is implementing things that nobody asked for. I don't know who is demanding these features, like the AI window.
Yeah,
discussions of
don't like that.
agentic browsing. Lots of random little AI things that I'm sure people are really, really excited about. And we've discussed a lot of this
last
stuff.
video,
this
yeah,
AI
5.5
direction has been
hours.
going for quite a while now. I've talked about this in previous videos, and I'm not going to dive into a lot of that stuff here. Instead, whilst all of that stuff is going on, whilst people are just
Should I upload
really
a short video for
confused
next
about
time that's not
what
annoying?
Mozilla
Hey,
is
in the
trying
review
to
on
do,
stream, you can put a video
this
in
is
there and
one
we
of
can
those
check it
rare
out.
times where at least there is a very minor W. It's a minor one, but it's
on
still
there for the
something
Discord
that people
for
have been asking
everyone.
for a very long time. The stupid .mozilla folder.
Oh God, that one.
Itself. No one likes the folder. No one likes to deal with the folder, not just with Firefox, but with anything else in Mozilla's stack, with forks of Firefox, because all of them have the exact same problem. Firefox dumps all of its files, the cache, your extensions, all of this garbage into one folder in your home directory called .mozilla.
Yep.
And Firefox is not the only one that does this. A lot of other projects completely unrelated to Mozilla do the same.
It's an
This is
old
the traditional
practice.
way
Yes.
of handling files for an application.
Yep.
But we don't live in the 80s anymore. There is a better system to use that a lot of other projects use, because you'll notice that a lot of projects
I'm gonna
have
move
their
up here
config
because he
files
normally tends to be in the top bottom
the
right.
config directory and their cache files in the cache directory.
Yep.
And their data files, their plugins, things like that, in the data directory, which is .local/share, but the data directory, and all of these things are controlled, if implemented correctly, by a variable, or by separate variables for each of the different folders. This is the free desktop XDG base directory specification. This specifies where different kinds of files for an application should be located on your system. And whilst it's a little bit less convenient, there's a good reason why it exists. If you want to go and back up your configs for an application, you don't want to back up the cache. It's very unlikely you want to back up the cache.
That's
so
been annoying
that's in
when
a
I
separate
do move
place,
my
and you can
browsers,
just
and
back up
Thunderbird does the
everything
same
in the config
thing.
directory, and now that's backed up. Or back up everything in the data directory in .local/share, and now that's backed up. And Firefox, for its entire life, has ignored this spec. But ignored no longer. So this is the issue in question. This is the report 259356, support for the freedesktop.org XDG base directory specification, opened 21 years ago, closed 4 days ago. Not closed as we're not going to fix it, not closed as, we'll deal with it later, closed as dealt with. Now, obviously, there are a bunch of other duplicates, because when something exists for 21 years, you know, people are going to make their own reports, either thinking that this one's been forgotten about, or not even realizing it exists. Let's see how this got resolved, and how it took 21 years. Now, in the write-up for the issue, there is this very amusing thing. This might not require many lines in the code, but will require moving some config and data files from .phoenix to probably xdg config home /phoenix and xdg cache home /phoenix, and then data home for the data stuff, depending on the needs. This is so old that it's back when they used the Phoenix branding.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Old of a report we are dealing with right now. Also, when they say might not require many lines of code,
look at that, Firefox
well,
0.9.3.
it turns out over the years that when you rely on a specific directory name, you may hard
Hey, thank you for the
that
follow,
directory
Raging
name
Vegeta.
in ways it probably shouldn't be hard-coded. And what made this a little bit more complicated is, especially back when this was first reported, Mozilla had a lot more random side projects like SeaMonkey and things like that built directly off of Firefox.
Yeah, it was an interesting
and
time.
all of them had the exact same problem. So here is the report in Thunderbird, opened
I just brought up Thunderbird
years
earlier.
ago.
I still
This
use
one has had
Thunderbird.
Quite a bit
Still the
less
best email
activity.
client 20 years later.
So I don't know if that one's going to be resolved in its own way or what's going to happen there, but
yeah, because they're not
Firefox
really
is
the Mozilla
main
Foundation,
one
if I
people
recall. They're kind of
point.
their
And
own
you know
thing
what
now.
always really amuses me about
with
these really
Mozilla
old issue
Foundation
trackers,
support.
these really old bug reports, even with the really early comments. So this is 21 years ago, 21 years ago, 21 years ago, and then there's a whole year gap until the next thing. Oftentimes with these really early issues, there weren't that many people looking at the project. Obviously, Firefox is a big project, and it was even big back in those days, but there was just a lot less attention that these projects were getting overall. So a lot of these issues just completely got swept under the rug. Here we go. 7 comments in, it's already been 4 years. So unsurprisingly, a lot of this early discourse didn't really go anywhere because when there's a year between comments, it's kind of hard to have any sort of discussion. When we get to comment 16 here, there is at least some discourse on where files should be going, what the things actually should be called. So in this case, there was a suggestion to do config home / Firefox, because they had changed to Firefox from Phoenix at this point, / profile, so you can have different configs for each of your individual profiles, and then / config files, or data home, you have your data files, cache, you have
this
your
is
browser
still
cache,
17 years
like
ago.
This is a totally reasonable
Some of my
way to
viewers
handle
on this
the
stream
issue
aren't even that old.
There is some discussion that happens later on, and we'll get to this, where it's not entirely clear the distinction between some of these categories. By the time we get to comment 27, we are already 8 years in. It is 2012 now. While this issue is set to platform all Linux, this issue applies to all Unix-like OSs except macOS, which by 2012 is... Linux by that point is kind of the main one. Yes, there is still some corporate Unix that is still hanging on by this
and things
point,
like that, yeah.
But that kind of died out early 2000s, late 90s, except for like enterprise workstation, systems that you're probably not running Firefox on anyway.
Anything before 2004 was still in the ball sack.
Runtime directory, just in case.
Damn.
This is where user-specific runtime files should be stored, i.e. sockets. When most people talk about the XDG directory spec, they mostly talk about config, data, and cache, because for most users, these are the ones you're really concerned with, but there are other locations that are important as well. It's usually just for stuff the user isn't generally concerned with. If you want to check out the full spec, I might leave it linked down below. And with basically no progress being made, someone makes mention of the Thunderbird issue that had been made. Again, this is 28 comments in, it has been 8 years by this point, and then we start having the waste of time. Hey, bump. Ping. Always very useful. I'm kind of happy that this is a trend that has died down. This was something that used to be very, very common. People would just send a completely useless message, usually ping, usually bump, something along those lines, just to ask if anybody is...
Okay, this reminds me of something we have to talk about. So... I get annoyed at work when people, just like send a hi or something like that and then disrupt my workflow on Teams. So there's actually a website. You can use this as a resource called nohello.net. I have literally sent this to actual users that have bothered me. I have an away message that actually tells people basically, more or less in a polite way, do not message me just hi or anything like that. If this actually can be a ticket, please make it a ticket, because I got bothered so much. But you can see, don't do this. The same goes for, hello, are you around? Hi, Sophie, quick question. You got a sec? You there? Ping, etc. Hiya, what time was that thing? Hey, 3:30. Ta, see you then. No problem. You see how that works? Hey, man, what's up? Any idea what that thing's do? Just do the message in all one thing. When they just say hi, I call it chat ejaculation. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, I hate when people do this. It's so disruptive to a workflow. I'm glad that's died down. I find people that do that are rather toxic and are usually the types that do not actually make a ticket. So nohello.net.
Looking at this. And if anybody was looking at this, then they would have been posting that they were looking at it. It was one of these things where I'm sure somebody somewhere did start looking at something because it got a bump, but most of the time, it is just sending out an email to everybody on the list. A far more useful reminder.
That shit annoys me when I'm on GitHub lists.
What the specification is, where files should be located, more details, here's some links you can check out, and then also places that are making use of the specification as a way to say, hey, everyone else is already doing this.
This is valuable
Maybe it's
compared
time
to just
give this a
ping.
look. This isn't something where, you know, 1 or 2 projects here and there have implemented this. By this point, GNOME, KDE, GTK, Qt, XFCE, no link to LXD, but they were using it, VLC, and a bunch of other projects that are really important projects were already doing this. But most relevant to what we're doing here, Chrome, a direct competitor browser, implemented the spec, which basically means
Yes,
that
I just ignore
unless
you
you're
if you
doing
message me on
something
Discord just saying
wildly different
hi.
from Chrome, there is no reason that a browser couldn't also implement it. One thing I will say with KDE though is whilst they do technically make use of the spec, if you ever go into your config directory, you're going to notice there is a lot of these files with K in their name, like Critter.rc and Crunner.rc. The reason why it's like that is KDE doesn't have a global folder for KDE-related files. Instead, they just stick a K at the front and then basically spam the directory. Again, they're not the only ones that do so.
That's
but
annoying
they are the
as
most
shit.
Egregious with it. One of the reasons why
I don't really use
Firefox Mozilla
KDE, but
is
I
the way
did
it
not know that.
is actually because of Windows. So on the Windows side, they dump everything into App Data, Mozilla, Firefox, Profiles, and then on the Linux side, obviously it's a different path because we don't have an App Data, and the rest of this path wouldn't really make much sense on the Linux side, but it's taking everything that would have been in this
I
folder
don't
at the end,
make
and
fun
then
of
just
you
putting
if
it
you
into
message me.
Mozilla. So instead of having
It's just
a
the things you
completely
send me
different
happen to be
structure on the
funny.
Linux side, it all just does it in the exact same way. This apparently, for some people, they might like dual boot and then share the profile. I don't know why you would do it this way instead of
That
doing
sounds
it
janky.
with Firefox Sync. Was Firefox Sync a thing at this point? Maybe Sync wasn't a thing, in which case that would make sense.
Oh, yeah.
And following this, we actually started seeing
I keep
some
forgetting how new
active
that is.
discourse trying to resolve the problem. It was still a long way from actually... Okay, Sync is a thing at this point. It was a long way from actually being resolved, but people were at least thinking about the problem. People discussing, hey, what can I actually do to get this working? Can I review these changes? Can I actually make some progress here? And there really was something being done. People were working on patches. It's just those patches were not complete enough to the point where they were ready to actually be added into Firefox main. And when you fixed one problem, people realized there are a bunch of other problems that all happen to be attached together. There were all of these blocking bugs, and it wasn't as simple as just changing where a couple of files are being generated. There was a lot of stuff that was being assumed to belong in this directory.
I unfortunately don't have OpenVOS or Nessa
it
sub,
had
so I can't really do much
basically
serious to
hard-coded
poke
like
at it.
that for,
at least in the ways I want.
what, 9 years since it'd been reported?
Down the road, I
but
will.
Well over a decade. And here's we ran into the first kind of problem. I have, as module owner, decided that we do not plan to separate config and data. The distinction is blurred to begin with. Bookmarks are sure to be one man's data and another man's config, as are things like root certs, certificate overrides, and other things, because no other platform makes the distinction. Coders working on the project are unlikely to know or care about
Retake
the
video
difference,
suggestions.
leading to subtle
In my
XCG
Discord
only
server,
bugs.
I have a review
As I
on
said
stream
earlier,
channel.
That would be
My mods and I
a
dump videos in there.
reasonable complaint.
And my mods may review videos
if
others put in there
Chrome
too.
hadn't already done so. And you can just look at what Chrome is doing and then yoink their system. Just do that.
The link's
also,
in bio
this
if you
is
need
a
it.
very solvable problem with documentation. Explain where certain files should be going, and then people know where certain files should be
also
going.
do
This is not a question of right and
exclamation
wrong.
Discord
It is a
that should
question
bring
of
up
engineering a
the
cross-platform
link.
application. Because the distinction between data and config is not a concept of any other platforms.
I give
it is
1
something
year,
that
then I may
engineers
get a
working
new
on
IP.
Firefox will think about.
You
That
can also
means they'll
unplug
use
your
the old directory, and there will be subtle Linux-only bugs.
modem
and
for
the
a
distinction
day.
is definitely still blurry. Because of this engineering reality, I have made the decision
Sometimes I may do
that
it weekly
we
or
will not
monthly.
support this distinction and will store everything in one place. Given the current distinction, I believe that place will be data. And as I was talking about Chrome earlier, this person here explains how Chrome has done it and how this is a very solvable problem. This is not something you just have to reinvent from nothing. And then we got to this one. We are not going to separate config and data. That discussion is closed, and further discussion of it is unwelcome in this bug. Obviously, it has to be welcome because the bug cannot be resolved without it. So either this bug is closed and we're not going to fix this, or you have to discuss the separation of config and data because you can't have it both ways. Following this discussion kept going on for a few more comments, and then eventually we got to this right here. I am restricting comments on this bug. Bugzilla isn't intended as a debate forum. Benjamin's the module owner in this area, and he's already asked Landium to look into it. Both are long-time Mozilla contributors, is beyond reproach. No further flames, please. Comments are restricted to users with edit bug privilege. With privilege comes responsibility, so please consider carefully before commenting if you are able. So basically, there were people in here that were kind of getting a little bit too heated. Some people were saying that this person just hates Linux and wants Linux to fail, and things that are just not really relevant to the main point being discussed here.
And this is the problem with a lot of issues that are opened up. People do this.
But when
it's
you're
one of the negative sides of open source,
and just basically starting a fight,
call me fat pint honey, including fries and a Happy Meal.
As nothing was really going to progress from this point, when they were basically saying, yeah, we're not going to lock it, but we are going to limit who can comment, it basically just died for a couple of years, and then 2 years later, it was unrestricted, basically putting a stop to every bit of discussion that was happening. So is there any progress with this? Well, no. Nobody's assigned to it, and is not a priority of the team. And for the next 5 or so years, basically nothing really happened. We had some fun advocacy comments. People being like, hey, can you fix this? Hey, it's been 15 years, can you fix this? And obviously, nobody was fixing this. But somebody did get assigned to it, which is better than nothing. Now, they were assigned to it, but
did they do anything? No, they did not, apparently.
So no progress was made just yet. And from there, it's really a lot of the same for the next couple of years. There are some comments here and there, people are discussing about the problem. There's some, arguments about where data should be stored, other things that are implementing
store
this,
the data
all
in your
of this
mama.
stuff. But no actual real implementation is really being done. Other people were assigned to the bug, other blockers were being listed, there was discussion that was being had, there was obviously lots of the off-topic, lots of the Me Too discussions, and just,
good God,
again, nothing very useful. But somewhere along the line, things kinda just changed. When this person started working on stuff, there was quite a number of updates, not necessarily big changes, just listing what things depend on, duplicates, someone actually triaging the issue. What's the blocker on this? Time. I'm focused on other things, but they were at least paying attention to the thread.
That's a valid answer.
Were willing to work on it. And from then on, for a couple of months, it wasn't even mainly comments. It was the Fabricator automation updating the ticket with things that are being worked on, dependencies that are resolved, other things that are being done, and progress was actually being made.
21 years later.
2 months ago, the biggest blocker was fixed. I'll make sure at least tests are good enough and proceed with some communication and tentative landing after the code freeze ends. Basically, out of nowhere, after almost 21 years, this person just said, you know what? I'm just gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix all of the blockers.
I've had moments like that where it's like, F it, I'm gonna fix it myself.
Just get this done. And from there, a lot of testing was being done. A lot of these final issues were being ironed out. For some reason, the test was being run on Windows.
What? Why?
Don't know why. Also, it was being run on Mac. Yeah, it's not as surprising it failed. It's a Linux-only change. Obviously, the test would fail because it's not going to put the files there.
This is why I look at devs often, and they're like, well, this is failing on my box. Well, yeah, it's for Linux. Well, this is also failing on my Mac box. Well, yeah, it's for Linux.
Because it doesn't do that on those platforms. And then, just a few days ago, a completely unceremonious announcement, a bunch of links. But the important part is this was marked as resolved. This was marked as fixed. This was actually dealt with and was added into the Firefox 147 release notes. But it is not a perfect solution. So,
right, I did suggest
there is no migration path.
Ooh.
Only new profiles are expected to use the new setup. Migrating manually is at your own risk. Make a backup beforehand.
Fair enough.
So, either you can go and delete the original folder, obviously back up the files, and then move the files into the new location, which is kind of janky, and you probably should.
I'd rename the folder and then have them make a new one made.
Is just do it with Firefox Sync. Firefox Sync is vastly easier. Also, there are some edge case issues which can cause problems. There are 2 known bugs where things hard code the file path, which might cause issues during a migration, e.g. some extension metadata and some PKCS11 config. Not sure what the impact of breaking those would be. The PKCS11
I still haven't used Firefox Sync. Maybe I should play with that.
Rewrites the path, so at least that one is fixable. These are some minor issues, and I'm sure if they do cause some major issue, they cause a crash, things like that, they will be resolved. But now, if you delete the folder, obviously make sure you have Firefox Sync enabled, and then sync it again, it'll be in the new location. I'm not sure how long this is going to take to propagate out to the Firefox. Can you explain this in food terms? But assuming they are...
Basically, you had all of your food packaged just in one pile. You had all your fruits, your veggies, your meats, and everything in one pile. Now, we've taken that pile and we've organized it to the different respective food groups and how, we may want to use it. So, you have your meats over here. You now have your veggies in one area. You've got your fruits in another area. You've got your dairy in another area. We have a better idea of which category is which, rather than just it all being in one giant pile, that anytime I need anything, I have to reach into this pile and then grab the right thing.
Following it relatively closely, sometime down the line, that is going to happen. And I don't know for other Firefox-based products like Thunderbird, what's gonna happen there.
Yeah,
if
that's
they have
its own
their
thing.
Own issues that are blocking it, if they're interested in fixing it, what's gonna happen. But at least for now, mainline Firefox on version 147 has finally fixed this after 21 years. But what do you think? Is this one of those things where you ever actually cared about it? Or is it just the fact that you have so many of these folders, so many of these files just littering your home directory that one of them changing it doesn't even matter anymore?
It really doesn't.
I'd love to know. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you liked the video, go like the video. If you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribes, Daily Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and you know what? You got to celebrate the minor wins.
I agree with that. You got to celebrate the minor wins. I don't know how much of an impact that actually has in the long term of things, but it is a win nonetheless, 21 years later, of course. But, oh, yeah, I'll see you later, Govy Cat. I'm about to head out myself, too. It's getting a little late. I do have work tomorrow. There will be a stream tomorrow. So, excuse me. There's a no text-to-speech video on Discord PDF. Yeah, I put that there. We're gonna look at that. I think I put that there. I saw that video in my feed, and I wanted to check it out. I think I'm the one. Anyway, so, every battle brings you nearer to victory. Absolutely. So, anyway, thank you all for joining me, if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on all of my socials. I'm on Blue Sky, Mastodon, Kick, Twitch, TikTok, and of course we have the Discord server and the Matrix server. The links are in the bio for all of you if you're on the TikTok side of things, and the links didn't just drop it for all of you. I will be back on around 7:30-ish. We have quite a few projects, as we know, we're working through. I'm slowly getting through my backlog of things. You've seen the sim come to life and all of that, so I still got to work on the actual sim and logging server. Then I got to work on the LLM server, the TTS server. We got to work on the Zero Trust network access side of things. There's a lot that's going to be happening. So thank you all for joining me. I love all of you guys. Stick around for the raid on Twitch, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy hacking.